Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. Oh, we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to do tonight. So let's get started. We got a late start. No surprise there. Because honestly, folks, I'm in the middle of being attacked again, like always. So people never get tired. But when you don't work, you have time to, well, just tee off on people. Like I've said this before, these people they don't have jobs. Their job is hating on me. You know, that's their job. I wish I had a job like that. I wish I could just get paid to just, be a thorn in someone's side. Cause all kinds of, just literally terrorize people. Terrorize me, my wife, my nephews. You're getting prepared for a show, and of course Sunday, that's the best day to attack someone because they know that you're going on the air, so why not launch an attack? I'm talking about you, Anus. Yeah. Anus Bake. We'll call her Anus Bake. Now she's on there on one of the people who's a friend of ours. You guys probably know, he's probably in the chat right now. Shade Viking made a little video, and I thought it was funny. I mean, but I guess I'm Ivan Drago, and old Ike is Rocky Balboa, which he's the hero, right? Rocky's he's the hero.
Yeah.
So I was the villain in that particular skit, but I guess, I don't know what he thinks. He didn't really say anything. He just popped, he said he put a few periods on there, and then Anus had to go on there with her Cleghorn account, which it's her, and they're all a part of it. What she's done is tried to flip the script and claim that we've committed some kind of conspiracy. No, we didn't. No, you did, Anus. Okay? And it's going to take a little time, but it's going to come out. Everything you've said and done, it's going to happen. It's going to come out. I give you my word. It's going to come out. I'm trying to live my life. I'm trying to run 2 businesses. I'm trying to do the show. I'm trying to finish my 3rd book. And here's this old dingbat who's got nothing better to do. She, after me and Mike had made peace, she had nothing to do. Nothing. So what she needed was this war to continue. And I would say Ike has obliged her. I'm very disappointed in him. I thought that we really had made a stride to, and let's be honest, the peace isn't working. But it's because he's allowing these people to tee off. Now, whether the Cleghorn account, who really the Cleghorn account really belongs to, is up for debate, but I'm pretty damn sure it's hers. And I'm going to tell you, little folks, if you don't know what's going on, if you're new to the show, whatever, these people conspired to pin a felony on me and my nephews for a fake home invasion. And then she continued to beat this drum. And they all knew about it. We have screenshots of them talking about this, and they're all involved. There were multiple of them for that little cabal. And I'm willing to forgive and forget and let go. But when you start hurling accusations of a conspiracy and money across state lines, which never happened, and you continue to accuse us of some sort of whatever ridiculousness that you want to come up with in your damn warped mind, well, guess what? I'm going to go after you for the real conspiracy. Do you think I like spending my time talking to lawyers? No, I don't. But now I'm more committed than ever. So, one of my lawyers, I have 2, is busy right now finishing a settlement case. And when that's done, as God looking down upon me, I'm going to put every resource I have into fighting these people, folks, because I can't live my life like this. I will have to put this show on pause to do what I have to do, then I'm going to do it. Stop saber rattling and pretending like you're talking to the FBI and you're doing all this and doing that. Because the truth be told, okay, you need to lawyer up. That's who you need to be talking to. I know you all got your own legal battles or whatever you're fighting, and I don't give a damn what you're doing. It has nothing to do with me. Stop putting my name in it because I am not involved. Things happen for a reason. Talking about this guy's a man of integrity. If he was, he would put a stop to this, but he won't do that. Do it. You can stop her if you really wanted to, but you're not. So you know what? You're involved. You were involved. Sure. There is no peace. Let's quit pretending. I don't care if you say my name. Go and start making rants and do whatever you got to do. There's no peace.
He could get her under control because she's in love with him, so...
She's in love with him.
She does whatever he says.
You could get her under control, and you could end the suffering.
Fat, geriatric, Harley Quinn-looking wannabe.
You know, it's like that scene in Cyborg where he's like, we could end the suffering. I like the suffering. We could end the pain. I like the pain. Go to hell. Been there. That's him. That's you, dude. That's what you want. You wanted to pretend like you weren't doing anything wrong and get me to say the first whatever. I don't give a crap at this point. Jealousy is all this is. This all begins and ends with jealousy. Stop saying it's about the Bible. This did not start because of some dispute over the Bible. Stop saying that we're against women and children and all this other nonsense that y'all are saying. Let us live our lives in peace. And then you got your friend Swamp Ass over there calling me a dirty, Hispanic individual. I'm not even going to say what he said. It was an awful thing to say. If the shoe was on the other foot, oh my God. Imagine what kind of trouble I'd be in.
Yeah.
I can't say those things. Well, I'm not going to because I don't have it in my heart to do that anyway. And then they all want to hide behind God. With having no idea who or what God is. This is all about the Bible. Lady, this is about you being a psychopath. And believe it or not, folks, she's a psychologist. Can you imagine what her patients go through? It's like Hannibal Lecter shit. I can only imagine. Thank you for that donation. Who donated? What? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was saying she probably keeps them coming back as crazy as she is. They come to her because they have a condition or something or a problem, and then she just makes it worse. And it's just like a racket. They just keep coming. I mean, she's got a good racket going, but at the cost of other people's mental health.
And I know at least 2 people who've written and turned her in, but I don't know what came of it, or I don't know. Or at least they said they did. I don't know what, I didn't, I guess I should, because I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about that. I don't go around busying myself with these people. But enough is enough. You attack my wife 24/7. You attack me 24/7. And I don't care what you say or do. Let's get this straight. What you say about me, I could give a crap. Okay? But when you attack my wife and my boys, then I have a problem. They said the meanest, nastiest things they could say, and then brought up a conspiracy. What they did, they conspired to create a fake home invasion and then push this narrative forever. And then saying that she was hiding from us. We were chasing her around. Who the hell has time to go do this? Not me. And you want me to say something, and that's what this is. They just could not. They had to get me to say something. Mm-hmm. And so you got it. But I'm giving you my word. I'm pledging my word to you that I'm coming after you every which way I can legally. This is not going to go unchallenged. I'm sorry. This is it. I am done. I am sick and tired that I have to waste my time. Folks, once we get to 300, we'll start talking. In the meantime, I got to, it's hard when you're trying to live your life and you have these vile reprobates who just will not stop. They will not stop. Anus needed this because Anus had nothing else going on in her miserable, fat, ugly, disgusting life. She had nothing else going on. So she had to make herself important to this guy. And so there you have it. So she just continues. attacking people's families, attacking innocent people. That's all you do. God help your patients. God help them. I can't even imagine. It's just, sitting here just living a nightmare because every day I try to. We had a new schedule, but we may change it because we actually are thinking about. We just talked about it again today. We were going to change it. Last night we had come up with a schedule. Now, what that means is Tuesdays are for the 1 hour podcast. Wednesday, we're going to move the Thursday, and this is just for the month of February, folks, okay? So if you're listening, I might have to reiterate this later in the show, but if you're listening the month of February, okay, because we have some projects in the works, right? So what's coming up is a lot. It's going to be a lot, and you're going to get a lot from us. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for that. She is a very sad person. Yes, absolutely. It's just, and all you can do is pray for this person. But I'm going to tell you this. I have prayed, and I've been praying. And I don't want to say prayer is a waste of time, but with someone like them, what can you do?
They're reprobates.
There's nothing. They've been turned over to the reprobate mind, folks. If you could, please pray for me. Pray for my wife. Pray for Anthony, Tony, for Scorpion, D, all of us that work together at PRT, all of our friends and our colleagues, those that have come forward and are trying to help us, give us information, and are giving us and turning things over to the lawyers, which really is a big help. There's 2 of you in particular. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even say there's 4. 4 people in particular. I'm not going to say your name. I'm not going to betray your trust. Unless you want to say something in the chat, go ahead. But thank you from the bottom of my heart, because that's going to help expedite this and get this over with. Hopefully it'll be over with quickly, folks. And these people will be forced to shut their mouths and leave us alone. If I look tired today, I am extremely tired. I got 3 hours of sleep. I was on the phone dealing with work and dealing with the show, trying to get it prepared, going over a few details with some of the witnesses, well, one of the witnesses in particular, and then trying to bring you a quality product, trying to knock out some stuff that I had to get done, scheduling, taxes, because, that's what working people do, and then having to do stuff for the book or books. I want to thank the people that I've recruited to help do the interviews. I had a great time last night at the Lone Star Paracon. I got there at the very end. It was already over.
Yeah.
But we got to go eat dinner with all the people that spoke and were there. It was a pretty wonderful time. And I met a lot of cool people.
Oh, yeah, they were all great.
Yeah. I wish we could have gotten there earlier. We could have networked more.
Yeah.
But I had work. And when you have to... And let me explain something to you, folks. Rich people, okay, some people would consider us rich. We're not rich, okay? Middle class, maybe upper. I don't know what you would consider that. I don't know what the...
I would say we're middle class. Like
middle class.
Slightly above middle class.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call us upper middle class.
The people we're talking about they're beyond middle class. They don't live in reality. And I'm not bashing people that have money. These people are wealthy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see their house from the road.
No.
Okay? You can see... We live in a nice neighborhood.
You can see their gate. That's about it.
You can see our house from the road, just like our neighbors. Our neighbors and we're all overpaying. These people who I'm talking about, and one of them really just irked me yesterday when I was having a conversation... Their idea, I mean, like, they're like, well, it's just going to cost you $22,000. And I'm like,
yeah, just $22,000.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's not acceptable. And they're like, well, I think the number's better. I don't care what those numbers, to you, that's nothing. Okay. Now I will explain something to you. They don't understand that like it's nothing to them. And especially these kind of people, they don't care because it's not their money. And they think that you're supposed to be okay with that. Because a lot of these people, they got to where they're at because they don't care. They don't use their money. And it reminds me of this scene when Leonardo DiCaprio was playing, what's his name? Howard Hughes. And what's the woman's name? Katharine Hepburn's family. And the one that goes, I can't stand her and her family. They're all rich people. They were born, and her mother's like, we don't talk about money. It's not important. And he goes, it's because you've always had it.
Yeah.
That's why it ain't important to you, because you've always had it. And the rest of us, some of us, have to actually work for it. And then you got these grifter, lecherous, extortionists who think that what you've worked for and you've literally bled, sweated, and fought and clawed for, that they're supposed to take it. That you owe them something because they screwed up something. No, that's not how this works. And that will never happen. You're not getting a dime from me, homeboy. I don't give a damn what happens with you and your family. Okay? You understand? All of you out there who are trying to play these games, you're all going to pay big time. I am not somebody to trifle with, and I'm going to tell you right now, I say right now here on this show, you watch. Watch me work. Because I didn't get to where I'm at by being stupid. Thank you for that donation, Indy Southpaw. We sure could use it. I'm going to tell you right now, dude. All right? Keep running your scams and your grifts. You're not going to get over on me. And you're not going to bully me. None of you, and none of the things you say are gonna stick and bully. You're not going to bully me. I'm not afraid of you, and I don't respect any of you, not even a little bit. This lighting is like...
It
changing.
changes when the colors change.
Yeah, I
on
noticed
the
that.
background.
There's one of them that makes me look like I'm the surface of the sun. But you're not gonna do this. And the same thing I told the guy yesterday. I said, you're wasting my time. I'm done. I'm not gonna sit up here and talk about something that I am not going to flip the bill for. I don't care how it's always been done. There's always this quote unquote the way to do things. Well, when I started doing my show, guess what? We were told by 100 different people that that's not the way to do it. You need to pick a lane and stay in that. You're going to be about Bigfoot and be the most boring shit you've ever seen in your life. You want to do a show about Dogman, do about Dogman and be the boringest shit you ever heard in your life. Or talk about ghosts like a million other people. Or you can talk about UFOs like a million other people. That's pretty much what you got to do. That's how it works.
It's just not a very good long-term plan.
Every one of those people, I gave them a finger gesture and moved on. Some of them, I didn't ask for their advice. And I don't need it. Because I want the truth. Not what someone believes or thinks or whatever. I had a long conversation with 4 people last night. I was with Ryan Edwards, Lyle Blackburn, Tex from Texas Shrimp Porch, and Jason McLean. And there were several other people there too. The ladies from Blondes and Booze, Krista and Brandy, but they were kind of having a conversation with Nellie. And then there were some other people I had just met. And what was the guy's name? We're going to be interviewing him with Blondes and Blues on Thursday. I need to know his name. Dang it. I feel like I can't remember now. Do you have any of them's number? Tex, Jason, or Lyle? You should have all of their numbers, but you probably don't.
I have Krista's.
No, that's not going to help. Anyway, I want to give the guy a shout out. I met him yesterday, and he was an awesome individual. Anyway, I can't remember his name, and I'm so tired. And I
Brandy said Rod Nichols.
Rod Nichols. Thank you, Brandy. Remembered. I didn't think they would remember him or know him. Whatever. Why did I think that? See, I'm so turned around They're interviewing him. So anyway, what's going on is I have this conversation with these individuals. And Jason said something in the conversation that was very pertinent to how people see things. And I'm going to get him on the show. Him and Christopher Jordan was the other one that was there. And I'm going to get him and Christopher on the show. Saturday. Yes, we're going to be doing Saturdays now. I'll get to that in a minute. And he said how you see things, and then Ryan, I think Ryan got the ball rolling on it. It's really hard. It's hard to believe that Ryan's only 22, Ryan Edwards. And Ryan Edwards, he had said something about belief, and Jason hit the nail on the head. He said it's all predicated on what your belief is going into a situation, what you think something is. And I said, unfortunately, what people do is they have a tendency to put everything in a box based on, is that lighting right there? Because it is really, it's making my face like light up, dude. It's really, I don't know what it's doing here. Yeah, just do it like that. So, what I said was, that is a big problem within this field, because if someone is a Buddhist or a Christian or an atheist and you name it, there's all kinds of people. Whatever they go into, that's how they see whatever it is, and that's the box they put it in. And it's doing everyone a very bad disservice. Because then you get just people's opinions, tossing facts out, or putting things into what they believe facts should be. Tell him to moderate, please. I see Scorb, but I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's a correct thing to do, and I think that there's this thing unplugged. That's a big problem. Hold on one second, folks. The thing came unplugged, and it's on your side. Right. It's right underneath you. I couldn't reach it if I tried. So, how you see the world and what you do about it is really just it's based on your preconceived notions of it's like what you learn when you're young as religion. Here's my problem. I'm very good friends with a couple guys, but there's three in particular. They're all Muslim. And they approach everything from that angle. So you cannot, there's no, you're not going to be able to get them to look at the world other than through that lens. They put on this lens and that's it. They're done. By the same token, two of my friends are non-denominational Christian. They're very fundamentalist Christian. Everything is a demon, okay? If a physical Bigfoot came and grabbed them and tore their arms off, they would still believe that was a demon. And that may be the case. But they don't believe in aliens. They don't believe, it is across the board. They look at the world through that lens. And by the same token, I'd say three of my good friends are in this field. They're not in this field, but one of them's a researcher, and they love to talk about this kind of stuff. But they're Buddhist, and they look at everything. One of them in particular, she's fanatical. And I'll get into arguments because she'll say things about Christianity, Islam, whatever, and slam those other religions just as the Buddhists and the Christians do. And everybody thinks that everybody is going to hell. Everybody thinks everybody else is going to hell. And so these people, they use religion in a way, it's like a weapon. And if you were to get them in a room with each other, these particular individuals, there wouldn't be a debate, there'd be a fight. And they want to fight just so they can say that they're defending their religion, their position. And that's not a way to get to any answers. But the truth be told, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say this. And two of these people are very close to me. The others are friends, and I'd say going further out there, acquaintances. But I know a lot of people from each one of these religions, those three in particular. And they're very aggressive. And for Buddhists, I mean, they're very aggressive in defending their positions. They'll blame Christians and Muslims for a lot of the problems in the world. Now, maybe that's true. I don't know. Maybe that is. In particular, Islam has been a problem for the Buddhists in certain regions, but also Christianity too, because it's made inroads into their, missionaries and things like that. And one of them, she thinks that her sister was brainwashed by Catholics, and that her sister will have to reincarnate and live a horrible, horrible life because she converted to Catholicism. And then the Islamic people, to them, the Quran is the absolute word of God, and it's never changed. And I say to that, I totally disagree. Totally disagree with that. I agree with some of the things that these people talk about, but at the end of the day, there is a fundamental difference between how I believe. But by the same token, there's an actual gulf between me and the Christians, because they are not correct. Jamie Rochin says, evil, Josh, donations are expected and they are not appreciated. Okay, what is that? Is this, are you joking? Are you joking with me?
Yeah, it's a joke. Basically like an inversion of who you actually are.
Oh.
That's what he's saying.
Oh, I'm always getting it, so who knows? 86, yeah, I'm not attacking Catholics, and anybody who's in the chat, I have one of our friends he's Hindu. There's two of them in particular that listen to the show, and they're pretty laid back. They don't really push their religion on anybody, whatever. But I watched one of them get into a terrible argument with a Buddhist about the tenets of Buddhism, and that Buddhism was spun off from Hinduism, which it was. And I had to tell my Buddhist friend. I told him, I call him Jam, his name is Jameer, but I told him, he's actually right. Buddhism did come from Hinduism. And he was like, no, man, no. Even punched his own car window.
Wow. Just because he doesn't know the history of his own faith?
Yeah. So I said, why don't you look it up? He goes, those books will lie.
Well, who does he think Siddhartha was?
No, listen to what I'm going to say. Listen to what he says. He says that those books will lie. So in other words, even if you showed them a book that has it, and there's 100 books, if they're Islamic, they're going to burn them and say that it's a freaking lie. I don't care what you say. They absolutely are very good at destroying history because they don't believe in it. Lots and lots of history has been lost to this so-called peaceful religion. And I'm not trying to pick on them, but I'm telling the truth. But Christians do the same thing. If it doesn't jibe, then let's just take it out. Let's take it out of the Bible and throw it over our shoulders. And let's leave a bunch of maniacs running around with this much of the truth when it's this much. And shaking it around saying this is the truth. Let's play with snakes and do all kinds of other silly shit. Because you know what? Faith. Faith. Our neighbors, we have, on our street, we have Muslim. We have our neighbors right across the street are Jewish. The ones next to them are Buddhist. And the ones right next to us, one's a Hindu, one's a Christian. How's that work? I don't know. But we have every type of faith. We have a fundamentalist Christian on the corner. And we have some Baptists. And guess what? Every one of them thinks they're right. And guess what? They all believe in what? Faith. You know what they tell me? If you have a talk with anybody about this stuff, you know what they say? You know what? I have faith. Well, guess what? Your Muslim neighbor has faith too. He believes very wholeheartely because God spoke to him too. And every one of them will say that they feel it in their heart, that God spoke to them. God spoke to you. Told you. I've seen miracles. I've heard this about 1,000 times. That they were shown signs. One guy said he saw God in the sky. So that made him convert from Hinduism to Islam. How that makes you, I have no clue how that works. I don't. But here's what I'm getting at, folks. My point is that because you believe it wholeheartedly and you have faith, don't doubt the other guy's faith because they have faith too. And faith has created more problems and more wars than anything you could possibly imagine. Now, if you pull your head out of your ass and you began to actually learn and read and just stop attacking people who don't believe like you, then maybe you would figure it out and come to the same conclusion. But there are some things that we can all agree on, as all religions can agree on, that evil is evil. And that attacking people and making up stories and making up lies about people and their families is wrong in any religion. Now, how you can sit there and pretend to be a good Christian and say and do the things these people do is beyond, I have no clue how they do it. I don't know how they sleep at night. I don't. I've seen people of faith attack people, horribly attack people. When I was working downtown, there was, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, and I'll say this, I'll leave you with this. I was working with some people. They were Arabic. Not all of them are Muslim. A lot of them are Christians. So the Christians were working, and we were remodeling the club. And one of the Muslims, because it was Ramadan and in the summer, he fell off a ladder. He went unconscious, fell off a ladder, hit his head, and had to go to the hospital. Was in a coma for 2.5 days. Poor old guy. I barely knew the guy. His fellow Muslims were merciless. When he came back, he went right back to work, and I had to tell him, no, he can't work. No. He was too frail. They would not let him eat. This guy was like 67 years old. Well, it turns out he was hypoglycemic. And I was like, if you don't let him eat, he could die. But his fellow Muslims, the religion of peace and love and everything, completely willing to just let him fall out and go right back to the hospital. And so I had to literally take him to the office and feed him, give him food behind their back. And then one of them decided to raise his hand at me, which I was like, that's a big mistake. One of his friends, was exercising a little prudence and grabbed him and said, that's a very bad idea. He kind of went like this, like he was going to do something. This guy's like, 20 years older than me. I'm like in my prime, in my mid-20s. I could kick the shit out of 99% of the world at that time. I could have beat up everybody in that whole club if I wanted to. And I did a couple times. You think I'm playing. Oh, he brags. Oh, dude, I would beat your ass when I was young. Trust me. Still could. And I told this guy, I said, if you touch me, you will learn. You're going to meet God. You will figure out what the real truth is. But too bad you won't be able to tell us. His friend grabbed him. He thought better of it, and they got fired. I've seen fanaticism in a lot of different forms. We had a preacher when I was a kid who went to a church temporarily until his son got sick, and he wouldn't let them give him medicine. His son was dying. And my mother was like, what is this? It's insanity. How can this be in this day and age? This was back in the 80s at that time, but the club thing just happened in the mid 2000s, whatever. How can that be? In this day and age, how can we be living like this? This is crazy. So yeah, have faith. That's fine. But exercise some common sense. But some of these people, they don't want to do that. They don't even really care about common sense. And what they don't understand is what happens when you die. Now, I don't know everything. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but guess what? And Anthony's sitting across from me. You can attest to this. We've interviewed a lot of people who've had near-death experiences, including my own mother.
Yeah.
We've had 2 people in our family that have had it. And we've had extended family who've had it, and we've had a lot of friends who've had it. It's not what you think it is. The nature of our reality is not what you think it is. I would say this to people. If you want to know what happens when you die, a lot of it's going to be predicated on how you treat people in this life. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Bible you're preaching from. Because your little narrow view of the world, you believe that's true. But on what planet and what religion are you able to say the most meanest, nastiest, horrible, absolute lies? Lies that you spew from the darkest recesses of your putrid brain. Are you going to be able to stand before God and be like, well, I did that because I was fighting with those people? What God is going to be like, oh, well, why didn't you say so? In that case, come on in. The water's warm. You were doing it because you were obsessed with some guy and you thought that you could, so you decided to make a war happen. You are on the right track. Oh, you tried to pin felonies on people too. Well, that's because you were fighting with them. That's
Never mind the whole "thou shalt not bear false witness" part.
Just go ahead.
You know better than me.
Because, God's human just like we are. What if God was one of us? Well, he's not. And it's offensive to me when you pretend that God is like us, because he's not. Okay? Because if he was, I wouldn't worship him and serve him. Dumbest question ever posed to me by an atheist at a conference not too long ago. A UFO conference, of all things, of course. This guy, I say of course because some of the Bigfoot conferences are some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life. In my life! All there hanging out, oh yeah, oh Bigfoot, whatever. These people, this guy says, how can you serve something that he's a big fat nerd, okay, whose shirt, he's got the belly that the shirt doesn't cover the bottom. Yeah, that guy. Everybody knows who he is. He's one of those people. How can you serve a God that you can't even comprehend or understand? Or is this while he's shoveling shit in his mouth? And I said, why would I serve something that I could? Because if he was just like me, he would be sinful and fallible. So why would I serve that? Now, I believe your mom's basement is calling. Go crawl back in it. You little Trekkie, little goofball. The earth is, and I believe in, in Klingons, and shut up. Shut your fat mouth. Sick of those people, sick of the doofuses running around the Bigfoot field, giving them donuts, and, the networks are picking them up and giving them shows and saying, look at this pile of shit. Let's go find nothing. Ghost hunters, yeah, come at me, bro. Waving their shirts around. Dude, what is this?
I honestly think they keep those idiots on as part of a psyop to discredit the whole phenomena, period. I mean, what is the other explanation? When you have people like Chris Gaetano, making actual real good stuff, why would you put these fat idiots? Is the camera not? The camera's not panning to me for some reason.
It's not going to.
I got to fix that, but I don't know. It's just not working out. I'll look into it here in a second.
You're talking about Dildo Baggins?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bag Zaggins.
Yeah. Him, and then the whole Finding Nothing crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of you.
Bigfoot loves jelly donuts.
They like jelly donuts. Go get your kids and take them down to the lake where the Bigfoot's at. Hobo said so. Retard. We changed everything last night. I'm bringing a guest on in a minute here. Thank you for that donation. I haven't eaten, so excuse me. I had to eat some almonds. I feel like my brain's going to fall out of my skull. Trying to get my memory going here. I'm going to bring a guest on for a few minutes, and then we're going to start talking. Here's what I got to tell you, folks. And this is most important. We talked last night. We decided that Tuesday we were going to keep the hour long. Wednesday, we're going to move Thursday to Wednesday, just for this month. So you're going to get the Tuesday, the retelling of a story, or stories, depending, it's an hour. Pay attention. Wednesday, we're going to do the Thursday show. Okay? Thank you, Liberty, for that donation. The Thursday show, which is usually, we have a guest. We always do. Not usually, we do. That's what it's for. It's like eating splinters. So, the Thursday show will be moved to Wednesday. Now, this isn't going to compete with you, Barton, if you're in the chat. We're going to be going on from 7 to 8, and then Barton will come on at 8. Now, the reason we did that was because Thursday I'm going to be on, for the entire month of February, I'm going to be on Blondes and Booze. I'm going to be their co-host for the entire month of February. They got some amazing guests coming on. Richard Nichols, was his name?
Rod Nichols.
Rod Nichols. He'll be the guest starting out. And then somewhere in there is going to be Lyle. And then the guy from Skinwalker Ranch, I don't even remember his name. The Blondes and Booze know his name, but he'll be there too. So join me on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock at Blondes and Booze. Okay? I'll be there every Thursday. Okay? And that'll be for the entire month of February. For now, that's all we have planned. It's just for February. But also in the month of February is our UAP project, which we're finally starting to get going. And there'll be multiple people. And what that's going to involve is, we don't really use StreamYard, but we're going to use it for this. Lolo says it's buffering. Try refreshing your browser. Gwen Hunt says Thomas is his first name. Okay, Thomas, I guess. I don't know his... Mike Wells says, does Lyle still have his band? Oh, yeah. He's going to be traveling to Europe this year. We ate dinner with him last night. We were hanging. Yeah, people's thing is buffering. Can you flip the camera over to you?
Yeah.
Now it works a little better. Right back.
I don't know. If it's buffering, just try to see if you can lower the quality, like on 360p or 480p. This chat is like right on my face. Hang on, let me get behind the computer and fix this real quick. All right, I think that's better, hopefully. But yeah, if it's buffering, you can try lowering the quality to like 480p, 360p. It should be fine. I don't know why it buffers for some people. I'm gonna have to look into seeing if we can change some settings on the computer so that it's not like trying to send too much data that your like phone or your computer can't handle. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry y'all are going through that. It's not really doing that on my end. I don't know. I mean, like, for how many of y'all is it the stream buffering? Actually, that's a good question. Hang on, let me get behind the computer. I'm gonna be off camera for just a second, but it's because I want to start a poll in the chat, just to see how many people it's like buffering and buffering, because it's a problem. I don't want y'all to have to keep going through that. Let's grab the keyboard here.
Still messing up.
Not for everyone, but for some people it's buffering. So I'm just gonna start a quick poll at get a feel for how many people it's buffering.
Thank you to everyone who's donated. Donations aren't expected. They're damn sure appreciated. That's to keep the show from having to go behind a paywall. We're trying to avoid that. But it's, I'm not gonna put things behind a paywall if I can help it. We would just probably kill the live streams. And I don't mean both of them, but it seems to be the Sunday live stream is doing better than the Friday live stream. So after March, we may kill the Friday live stream. And then if it doesn't pick up, then, it's not financially feasible for us to do it, because we actually reach a much wider audience by just doing the podcast episodes, because they go on to 15 different platforms, YouTube being just one of those. So it may come down to us just as a business decision doing the hour-long podcast. Plus, if we do that, then I'm not up here tempted to say something to these maniac, satanic people who are constantly attacking us. So, and it might give them a reason to just back off and leave us alone, because what they really want, and I know what everybody says, don't give them what they want, but I'm tired of it, and I'm tired of fighting with people. And if it's not financially feasible for me to come out here, then I'm just not going to do it. I mean, because I'm fighting with these people, and what they really want is for me to not do a live. They don't want me to be on the live stream. They want me to go away. And I think once we do that too, and you see what you're left with, maybe people will then understand. And it's not going to be any skin off my nose, because, I got businesses to run. I could be, the time I'm spending working on this show to get these stories and to do what I got to do and bring guests on, it could be better spent. I could be spending today, I could have had a business meeting with someone. Instead, I was like working on the show. And you got to understand something. For me, it comes down to, you're losing thousands of dollars every month to do this, which is, it's not really, it doesn't make sense financially. Let's put it that way. So you're kind of going like, well, you got to balance it out. Most shows, we're not even breaking even on what we should, on the time that we're losing. Like, as soon as this show's over, Anthony's got to go to work. But in the meantime, somebody has to be paid to do his job. Tony's not here tonight because Tony's at work. And, that there again, he loses money if he comes and does the show. So, I mean, he can go to work and make $350 in a night. So why would he want to do this when he's making like not even 100? That's my problem. That's the crux of the issue. Now, these other people can take it and run with it and say whatever the hell they want to say. They're not us. They're not me. And they don't know what we're dealing with and what we're going through. Yeah, I know Misty Rose says my brain keeps going back to the Fraggle Rock. My wife hates Fraggle Rock.
She does?
because she's mean. And but I love Fraggle Rock. And so when I put my Fraggle Rock shirt on and I was getting ready and I was like, singing the theme song, and she opened the we have like this bathroom, like the room, it goes from the bathroom and there's no door. We have a curtain. It's a nice curtain, but it's like this big heavy curtain. But the way the house was built, I guess you're supposed to just enjoy the bathroom being a part of the bedroom, Now, the toilet and everything has its own separate little room, whatever. But, you're taking a shower and somebody were to walk in your room, and we have a lock, but if somebody were, they could just go in and go, oh, there's somebody taking a shower there. So we put up a big curtain, and she just opens the curtain and she's like, looks at me. For some reason, I guess when she was a kid, she was abducted by Fraggles and taken to their underground kingdom and held for a week while all they did was say, dance appears away, worries for another day. And that they just played it over and over again. And so I think that's what they did. And so then, and then they took her to the trash heap. And so she was traumatized, completely traumatized. So
I mean, I could kind of see how someone would perceive those little Muppets as disturbing, I guess. I mean, I don't find it disturbing, but I guess I can kind of see
how?
I mean, they're just...
How dare you?
I mean, they are like ugly little monsters.
Wow. And now it has begun. So the 49ers exploded in the second half to score 27 unanswered points.
Wow.
And now the game is almost over, and they will be going to the Super Bowl, and they're going to cover the spread. I told you.
Yep.
The Lions are feeling pretty good about themselves going into the half, but I was like, I was just messaging a friend earlier, and I said, don't get happy. Don't get too happy. That they're going to come out and they're going to wipe the floor, and they did. Well, it almost happened. You gotta give them an A for effort. But to just collapse like that. It was 24-7 at the half. Wow. Oh well, what can you do? What can you do? So we're trying to get this going here because people are saying that it's buffering and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to bring my guest on. And folks, I really didn't plan for this to be this way today. I was hoping that we would have, we would be able to do a regular show, but we were getting attacked as I came into the studio. Really sick of it. Can't type anything either.
Oh, okay.
Mm-mm. So the connector quit working too over there?
I guess.
That's great.
Which one is it?
I can find it. Yeah.
What was I typing in?
Well, let me see this. Hold on one second. nothing going right.
Hello.
Hey, Matt, you there?
Hey, Josh.
I was just looking at the score of that ball game. Unbelievable.
Oh, man, I'm disgusted. I heard you say that, and I looked, and damn.
2 minutes left, too.
Their defense went to crap, obviously.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew that the Niners were going to win, and they were going to cover the spread, too. But what are you going to do?
Hey, your defense gives it up, man. I thought this was the year for them, and I'm sure all the fans thought that they were going to go, and you got to play 4 quarters.
And now they can't sneak up on anybody because next year everybody's going to be knowing that they're a decent team, so they're going to be prepared.
Targets on your back for sure.
So I don't. The league has no interest in Detroit. None, zero. Same thing with Cleveland. They don't have any interest in Cleveland. The teams that they like is your team, Pittsburgh. They love Pittsburgh. They've always loved Pittsburgh, and
Philadelphia.
They love Green Bay, Philadelphia. Those are the teams that they're going to get the love. And it's just that way. Goodell hates Dallas, but Dallas has been hated for a long time. So they're not going to. Anything from Texas isn't going to get much, and Florida too.
And of course, Kansas City's the baby right now. So
Kansas City, and they're using the 49ers to be the other baby. So, and they have no imagination. And I want to say this in front of the audience. And if people think I'm joking, look at how many teams there are in the NFL. But look at how many times they have repeated. Okay. The first repeat was the Dolphins. I believe the Dolphins and the Redskins. They played each other twice. The Niners played the Bengals twice, and now the Niners are going to play the Chiefs again. So either way, they were going to repeat. It was going to be the Chiefs or the Ravens. So you had the Chiefs and the Niners going to play each other again.
It's disappointing, being a football guy as long as I have and as serious I am about it. It's extremely disconcerting to watch out all these years. The older I've gotten, the more I've seen the way things are going. If people don't believe that there are fixes going on in the NFL, they're blind.
Absolutely. And then the same teams like the Browns and the Lions, the Texans, something always happens. They never make it. Cowboys for 30 years, them and the Commanders haven't been to an NFC championship. Now, this past year, I got to say, this game, the Cowboys just played terrible. But after years of watching them get rooked, and I say that, and if people aren't a fan of that team, they're going to go, oh, that's bullcrap. But then they're going to say their team gets rooked. No, everybody's team gets it at some point. But the Cowboys, It was a concerted effort for a long time to keep them out. And I can tell you this. Last year, they made the Buccaneers and the Cowboys play each other on Monday night, which is ridiculous, especially when that team is going to have to go and they're going to have to fly out with less rest. And the Cowboys had to go play the Niners, who had an extra day of rest. So, you're looking at a team that had 6 days rest as opposed to a team that had like 9. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, whoever won that game was going to get the shaft. And that's what happened to the Bucs again this year. Whoever won that game was going to have to go to Detroit and play hungover or go to they were expecting them probably to go to San Francisco so they could just get, bombed. So the league knows what they're doing. And they've been doing all this for a long time. The way to combat it is to not watch. I've watched maybe half a dozen games this year, and I'm hoping that next year I'll wean myself off to where I don't watch it at all. I'm done with the NFL. I don't like the NFL.
Neither do I.
I haven't for a long time. I think that they do everybody a disservice because, and going back to how many times, folks, there have been, think about this is almost paranormal. The Cowboys played the Steelers 3 times in the Super Bowl. 3 times. How are you going to play a team 3 times in the Super Bowl? Right? Even in the 70s when they played each other, it was kind of weird because the Cowboys were in a rebuilding year in that one year. They weren't even supposed to be in there. and they won enough to get in, and then got in the playoffs, of course. You had one of the greatest coaches ever, and then they managed to get in the Super Bowl, so it was no surprise. But the next time they played each other, that was unusual. That team the Cowboys had was very good, and there were a lot of people that thought they should have won that game. But Jackie Smith, the whole you sit back and you look, and then you brought up the whole Larry Brown interception thing during the Super Bowl. Now, one of those was a broken route.
Right.
The other one was like if the ball slips, that can happen. I've seen it go wide right, but there was nobody over there.
No.
So who the hell was he throwing to?
That was my point.
Yeah.
And you can't look past, Josh, the fact that not one Steeler was near there. And then as soon as that game's over, Neil O'Donnell signs with the Jets. And flies right to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of strange. They had a great Dallas had. I mean, let's be honest.
The team of the decade.
Teams, dynasties in history. I mean, just Larry Allen alone, one of my favorite players of all time, just a beast of a human being and inhuman, paranormal guy himself. His strength, his speed was just supernatural. And if there's ever a superhero, man, Larry Allen was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And just that team was incredible, man. They were just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, Larry Allen, he set the 225 bench record.
Yep.
And I actually tried to break it. He had hit 42 times.
Dang.
And I did it 39, and I never could do it. And then the other day I was in there with Anthony. What was it 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it 43.
Did you really?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. 43. And didn't want to post it on anything because my wife would have killed me because she thinks that I'm going to I'm fragile or something. I don't know, I'm going to hurt myself or something, but I told her, I'm like, I'm pretty strong. I don't really, I had Barton work out with me and Chris Clough. They've come into town and worked out with me. I've taken them to the gym and they've seen what I've done. Now, I did post a video of me doing 660 with flies. But I'm afraid to try to do too much, and then my wife she'll get on me.
I can't do all that anymore. I used to have huge benches and squats, and both my rotator cuffs are torn now. My body's a mess. When I used to play, I threw up ungodly amounts, but my body has really kicked my butt over the years, so I'm not like that anymore. I got to be careful with what I use.
Yeah. So, Matt, you have a channel, and I wanted to give you a shout out tonight and promote that. Tell us a little bit about that channel.
So, thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. I have a new channel. It's the first video dropped a little under 3 months ago, Planet 412 on YouTube, and I'm going to have a short out pretty soon that's going to have the description and the explanation of what that channel means. But, it's come from basically what happened to me and my dogman experience when I was 14 years old. And, I really wasn't going to talk about that, but I've had a lot of health issues over the years. And one such, in April of 2022, I had a near-death experience, and that kind of changed my view on talking about that. And I started doing interviews, and people just started saying, man, you should do your own channel. And, I'm a sports broadcaster, and I like to talk. I mean, shoot, I do it just for free anyway. And I just decided to give a shot at it, and it's doing okay. I'm proud of it. I love every single one of my subscribers and appreciate every one of them. And, I'm proud to be a part of this circle of friends of ours, you guys and the Blondes and Barton and everyone else. I appreciate everybody. And it all started with me going to your conference last September. My wife asked me before I went to that. I told her I was thinking about maybe starting a channel. And she said, well, do you think going down to this conference will help? And I said, yes. And more than anything, going down there, just meeting all of you and becoming friends of you. And you guys are like an extension of my family now. And I couldn't have done this without going to your conference, man. And I mean, that really helped change my life drastically. So, you have a lot of thanks for that for me. So I'm just extremely happy that I went down to that. And it was a great conference to begin with, but it just introduced me to so many people.
Yeah. You mean even though we had the satanic orgy where Bettina was possessed and we were all drunk and high, we were passing out drugs, according to Anus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Everybody was really amazing. I met so many people, like I said, going to dinner with you guys and, hearing stupid stuff that we've heard over the months about things that were going on there. I mean, none of it was true. And it was just a really good time and a lot of good people. And I truly mean it when I say, man, it really helped change everything for me. And I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if not for going to that conference. So I really appreciate every one of you guys.
Well, when we ate dinner, it was me, you, Josh Nanocchio, Chris Garitano. We were all sitting there eating and just having a good time, and everybody was in that restaurant at the end of that whole whatever. And Liberty's he's in the chat. Yeah, he was there too. Mike Turner was there. We were all there having a good time, and I guess I missed the whole. I didn't know there was a whole satanic orgy going on back at the base. If I'd have known, I wouldn't have went to dinner. I would have just been there being the chief of ceremony or whatever it is.
Yeah, everybody was all whacked out on the drugs that me and Tony were
yeah, we didn't even know what planet we were on. We were Planet 412, Matt. That's what.
Right. That's actually the meaning of Planet 412.
Yeah, that's where it came from. Josh Anocchio was like, "I'm so high right now, man. I don't know what lurks beneath."
Yeah.
And Garitano was like, "I'm off to the witch," and then Matt was like, "We're on Planet 412," and then that was it. There's history right there.
Yeah,
I love it.
Round table.
Awesome.
Or it was like the number of like exotic people and animals at the orgy. It was like 4 midgets, 1 donkey, and two tigers.
2 rabid rabbits.
Yeah.
Or what did Jason McLean say last night? The text got a rabbit chinchilla.
Yeah. Yeah.
We went to the conference late. It was the Kling Brothers conference, and those guys are great guys. They have a hey Ryan, we were eating dinner with them last night. Those guys had a conference last year. It was a lot smaller, but apparently this year they knocked it out of the park. They had like 200 people or something showed up, and it was at the Civic Center and Shirts. And I kid you not, we left at like 3:30. And we didn't get there until 5:30 because it's like an hour trip, but the traffic was so ridiculous. And then went from New Braunfels to Church, which is only like, 15 miles or something, took us half an hour. And so by the time we got there, everybody was packing up. And the one person I didn't get to see was Greg Lawson. I wanted to talk to him and because I needed to do some investigating with him and Eric Palacios from Media Palace, because we want to do something with Eric and Greg, because Greg lives in Georgetown, and Highway 29 is full of cryptid activity.
It is
full of it. So that's why I wanted to do something there. And so we all were sitting at dinner and we were eating. We were having a great time, and we were talking about some of the funny moments from the other conferences we've been to over the last couple of years. I don't go to a lot of conferences, and I do get invited. I was invited last year to be a vendor, and I declined because I don't really have time to sit there and, but like I said earlier on the show, I was getting time wasted arguing with this individual who thinks that, 20 grand is just some flippant thing as long as I'm paying for it. And I'm like, you're out of your freaking mind. And I'm so sick of these wealthy people who don't live in reality because, they don't worry about money. Money's no object to them, so it shouldn't be for you either. But, they get that way because, they spend other people's money. And it's ridiculous, and so I was just like, I'm not going to argue with you, dude, okay? But, what I go through on a daily basis, these people with their mouths, and they have no clue. They have no idea. You and I had a long conversation the other day, and I gave you a little insight into what it was like, and
you did.
It's anybody who's been to visit whether it's the ladies from Blondes and Booze or, you know, Chris Clough or Maddie and Bettina, Barton and Letitia, they see how busy I am. I'm always working. I make time for my friends, but I'm always working. It never stops, you know. And I do appreciate you and Garitano and of course Barton and the ladies from Blondes and Booze. BMR, he's another one. Tex. You guys always messaging me and seeing if I'm okay, checking on me. I appreciate that, you know, because sometimes, you know, my immediate, you know, circle, they check on me too, but it's like they know that I got it, you know, and so they don't. So you guys actually checking on me and you know, dropping me a dime every now and then saying, hey, are you okay, whatever. I really appreciate that. And David Weatherly and Ken and everybody too, I got to say that they're good friends because everybody has
Josh,
done that.
We care about you, and just to everybody listening right now, Josh, you know, it really is true that he works his butt off. The guy has a construction company, has a security company. Oh, and by the way, he's always making videos. And from somebody that's new to this, it inundates your time. It really, really takes up a lot of your time. So, you know, for anybody that might think that Josh doesn't, you know, care or doesn't talk to people, or it takes him some time to get back to you, the guy doesn't have time to breathe. And to what you just said, Josh, man, we care about you, brother, man. We're really your friends, and we appreciate you as well. So for sure, man.
Yeah. And you know, yesterday, I was on the phone and I was having this fruitless conversation with this individual who I just told him I don't even want nothing to do with you. I'm done. I'm good. And Lyle had messaged me and said, hey, are you coming? And we had, you know, kind of decided, hey, you know what, we're not going to make it, whatever. But once Krista and Brandy had messaged Nellie and Lyle messaged me, then I said, you know what, let's go ahead and go. And then we ended up staying at the restaurant there that we ate at afterwards until like 10, 11 at night. And just, you know, closing it down with the people that we were talking with Tex and Jason and those guys and Ryan Edwards, and just having a good conversation. And what's his name? Nichols. Rod Nichols. Rod, I'll get your name, man. I'm just, today I'm in so, and then, you know, I'm trying to get dressed, get to the studio and get going and still working, but then I have to stop and deal with ridiculous people attacking me, which it never ends because these people have no life. And they're so bitter and so angry that they have nothing going in their lives that they have to take it out on people. Yeah, Ryan, you're right. It was about 11:30 because we stopped at Buc-ee's at like what, midnight?
Yeah.
And we went into Buc-ee's, and my wife grabbed a shopping cart, and I'm like, well, what is that? What do we need a shopping cart to go to Buc-ee's?
Here we go.
Yeah, she's gonna grab a bunch of
It
stuff.
has begun.
Loves that place, and when we took Maddie and Bettina there, they were blown away by the Buc-ee's. But so. What I was going to say, though, you're going to have me come on as your guest pretty soon,
sir.
right, on your show, yeah. And
Yeah, so I'm getting ready to do. Not to interrupt you, just to let you know. First of all, I saw Krista from Blondes and Booze. She posted pictures of the dinner. I was jealous. I know how much fun that is. You guys hanging out.
Yeah,
so that looked cool. But in regards to what you're just bringing up, so I am actively right now almost done making an intro and an outro video for live streams. And, you know, just to let everybody know, those are coming soon. But the first guest that I ever am going to have on a live stream is going to be Josh Turner.
cool.
So I it's really exciting, and I can't wait to have you on.
Yeah, for sure. You did the right thing. The way I was talking about this last night about the books. Ryan is now in his second book, Ryan Edwards. And one of the things, it's funny because he said last night that I inspired him, but he inspired me because he was 20 years old. He wrote a book.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Ken Gerhardt, and I said, dude, what do I need to do to take this to the next level? And, of course, he's an author. So he's like, write a book. You know?
That's what I'd like to do someday.
So I told him, I said, you're right. And he goes, well, Ryan Edwards has one. He like rubbed it in. You know, it's like Ryan is 20 years old, and he wrote a good book. And so we were talking I was just thinking, if you write a book and you have, it's like you have to go to people who've written it, who've done it, who have done these things, because if you don't, then you're not going to be very successful at whatever it is that you're doing. And so I had to go to people who had written books. And then, of course, I wrote 2. Now, Ryan has said now, because I wrote 2, he wants to catch up and he's writing his second one. And I told him, I said, I'd already encouraged him to write a second book. But he's had some paranormal experiences. And I said, you really should bring those out, because this old way of thinking where it's like, oh, well, that's cryptid, that's Bigfoot, that's Dogman, that's alien, whatever, those days are over. Okay. I don't care who's clinging to that. Those are of the diehard, that want to compartmentalize, eventually
Yes.
are going to have to face facts. And I see that now with the conference that was there yesterday. There was a good mixture of, some sort of supernatural, paranormal, alien abduction people, ghosts, Dogman, Bigfoot people. It's all there together. And our conference did that. And I think that our conference set a tone. I don't want to take all the credit because it's not completely true. Because, of course, Lauren Coleman, he started out writing what would be considered the woo, and now he kind of went sort of like, okay, I'm just going to say this is an ape. But I honestly, not to speak for him, but I've talked to him many times, and he's a friend of mine, and he has some of my stuff at one of his museums, and I appreciate that. But
Awesome.
He's a good guy. I'm right there next to Barton and Kenny Irish, who his second book I wrote the forward for. Kenny's books are hitting #1 again. Kenny's done really well. Kenny's another really good guy.
Agreed.
He wasn't at the second conference. He was at the first conference. But when you stop and you look at the trend and the way where we were just a few years ago, where we're headed, and I like to believe that we at least part in making that happen, a transition that this community needed to have, because so many people were having encounters with something that they couldn't explain. And everybody was just wanting to take, oh, you had a Dogman encounter, and they take that. Oh, you had a Bigfoot encounter, and they take that. Oh, you saw UFO or alien abduction, I'll take that. But and then ghosts, I'll take that. But then they went their separate way. People were not putting it all together.
Right.
They just weren't doing that. And so I thought, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is really ridiculous. Like, why are these people just taking bits and pieces of, what should be, and Jason, yes, exactly. Decompartmentalization is part of the awakening. Exactly. I like Jason Broussard. That's exactly correct.
Well put, well said.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing. Like with what's happening now with shows like Blondes and Booze, with Texas Front Porch, what you got with Rye Voss. Well, I know I guess he's got a different show now because him and Tom aren't together on their show anymore. But your show. Right. You got the Expanded Perspectives guys. I love those guys. Good friends with Cam and Kyle. Shout out to them. You got all these different people, Bettina's show, that are bringing things together. They're coming out and talking about the whole enchilada. Barton's show with the Inhumanoids. And we are all together with this. A Josh Nonocchio with What Lurks Beneath.
Yep.
You have all of us together. We're all friends. Garitano, he's another one, and we're all working together. Eric Palacios, David Weatherly, these are the people like Nick Redfern. This is going to be the new community. It's going to be the new way. And if people, they want to stay in that zone of like, okay, well, this is just my niche. That's fine if that's what they want to do. But make sure that you tell the whole story, because I have literally sat down and read things online, and I'm going like, I know that person. I know that story. And that's nice of them to tell their story, but they took a very small part of that story and they're making that the focal point, when in reality, that's just a very small part of a way bigger whole.
It really is. And thank you for bringing that up. That's one of the things I wanted to do right from the get-go. Having the experience I had, and then I had a few other things happen, right before your conference in Beaver Creek State Park in Ohio. I met Ernie Davio, who
He was on my show, yeah.
Right. And he's one of my best friends. He didn't believe in Dogman. He saw one of my interviews and he contacted me and said, Matt, I didn't believe in them until I saw your interview. I said, I want you to know that I believe in them now. And, him and I have really been talking a lot about, we want to try and bring that stress for whatever reason. Like, I find it extremely ironic. There are people out there that believe in Bigfoot, but yet they don't believe in dogmen or other kinds of beings. Well, we want to try and bring that together, those two camps, because there's connections there. There's connections with all kinds of other things, which is where I'm going with this. And I agree wholeheartedly with you. That's what this new generation of these shows are doing, and they're seeing that there are connections, like a tree, almost like I look at, mythology, like the tree of Yggdrasil and all these different roots, but they're all connected to the main portion. And, like Chris Garitano, you mentioned him. I talk to him regularly. By the way, Brett Eichenberger and
Jill.
Amy Jill Remensnyder, they both said to say hello to you.
Yeah, good people. Very good
They
people.
are. They're good people, and they're a great married couple, and it was nice meeting them. And Josh Nonocchio is doing an incredible job, and he's a good friend of mine. And all of you guys have had a huge amount of push into my mindset of the way things are going to go on my channel, and opened my mind over these years listening to every one of you. And it just, draws that big picture of, it's not a small picture here, there. It's more of a big picture where everything really is connected. And if people would just open their minds a little bit more, they would see these connections. And that's just what I'm trying to do at Planet 412.
Yeah. Hacked and Infiltrated just said Paul Sinclair from Truth Proof. Man, another one.
He's amazing.
Him and Deborah Hatswell, dude. I love talking to those two.
Good people.
Good people. They're my British friends. Them two and Nick Redfern, they'll always have a place in my heart. Very good people. Another one, Lead Tracker E, her and her husband, Jerry Williams, Jerry and Ella with their book. The Bigfoot, is it Bigfoot and the
Predator Bigfoot and the Spiritual Warrior's Path.
Okay, you got it. So another, and they've given us a lot of food for thought to talk about. We had a long conversation when Bettina was down here. We talked about your case. We talked about Ernie's. We talked about Jerry and Ella. And we had a blast down here. So what's going to have to happen at some point, Matt? You're going to have to come down here and visit too.
Absolutely.
And have some Texas barbecue and go out to Thorndale Meat Market with us and have a good time.
I need some brisket. That's that's my favorite barbecue on the planet is brisket.
Texas knows how to do it. Central Texas in particular is where it came from. So, you have all these people, and we are like a big family, and, it's unfortunate you have these others who just don't want to play they don't want to play nice. They want to act crazy. And they want to say crazy things, and some of them, I believe, are just downright alcoholics. One guy in particular, and from the UK, he gets drunk and says a lot of crazy stuff. Or at least I think that's what he does. And then you have the slosh boss, and so these people started firing off on me, and people were telling me, and I'm like, who are these people? And they all started this after the conference. It was like that conference triggered them so bad that they're like these purple-haired protesters, dude. They're like so mad. You see those videos of them screaming with their eyes wide open. That's what they look like to me. They're like out of their minds because the conference went well.
Yeah.
And
that's a shame. It's a real shame. And you mentioned Paul Sinclair, and his partner Les Drake is also a great guy. I wanted to mention him. I've gotten really close with them since being on their show, and them coming with me on mine. And but I agree, there needs to stop this separation, this negativism that has really been a blight in our niche and genre over the last year. And I honestly believe, Josh, with the group that we have, this strong contingent of people we have right now, that we're on our way past that negativism.
I'm hoping that it goes away and that they can just, like one of them was on there the other day, and I never go to people's chats and say anything in there. And I just finally, I got sick of it. I was watching this, somebody had sent me the link, and I don't like even looking at it, but he was just railing on me with such fervor and venom and hate. I've never done anything to this guy. And I got on the chat and I said, why? What is your problem, dude? And I said, can't you just leave us alone? Can't you just stop attacking me? Stop attacking my wife. Just stop. Why? And he had no answer for that. And he's like, look, here they are in my chat attacking me. Well, if you read the comment, dumbass, all I asked you was why you're attacking me. Why? What is your purpose? He cannot give anyone a good reason.
I'll give you a reason, Josh. You're doing very well. You're successful. And by the way, congratulations on your channel of having well over 31,000 subscribers. That's such a great accomplishment. And there's a reason that you're doing so well. You're doing a great job. And unfortunately, one of the things of people that are successful is that you're always going to have people who are jealous. They're haters. They don't want to see others do well. So what do? They try and bring down people that are doing well. And that's one thing that I have been saddened by that I see. But, I just think, if the best that we can just pull together, man, and just keep supporting each other and try and push those people like that just away, and hopefully they'll be gone in the next year.
Yeah, I just don't know that they'll ever go away. The saddest thing to me is that they hate my guts and they don't even know me.
Right.
That's the saddest part to me, because what they say about me too doesn't really hurt my feelings. I mean, it's like I've been messed with my whole life by people that are. You're going to be encumbered by idiots when you do something. I know that. But the saddest part is that their hate, it's going to hold them in a place where they don't want to be. And they profess all this, love and Christianity, but they don't show it in their works at all. And I don't know, I actually feel for these people, and I'm being completely honest. And I've told people that and they think I'm crazy. No, I'm being serious, because what is going to happen? I'm not going to die hating them. They're going to die hating me, and it's going to keep them somewhere. And they think they know everything because they read a condensed version of the Bible, and they think that that's teaching them something. And they're picking and choosing from that. And what's going to happen when they pass is that they're going to enter into another reality, which is the real reality. And they're going to realize that all this anger and animosity and hate, and it ain't going to be nothing about this life anymore.
And they wasted their life.
Mm-hmm, other than what you've done that you're going to have to pay for. So, Matt, do you have time, or do you need to run? Let me ask you this.
No, I have time. But, I wanted to say something to everybody real quick about, people not knowing Josh. Those that don't know, right around Christmas time, Josh does something really amazing every year with Anthony and Tony and Nellie. They go out and they raise money with Josh's partner, and they buy thousands upon thousands of dollars of meat and buy fridges for people that don't have things. And what do they do with their time when they could be spending it with family or relaxing when they're working? Instead, they go out and they give people things that they don't have, or meals that they would never have for Christmas time and things like that. So I just want to say, I applaud you for that. And just for the people that don't know you, that needs to be said.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, we don't do it for notoriety. We do it because it's the right thing to do. And I've said this before, like, people, you shouldn't do it with the expecting
something in return.
Yeah, or the expectation of getting a pat on the back. It's just something you should be doing. If we were all doing that, one of my friends is a Sikh, and one of the things about the Sikh religion, and I'm not going to get into a big dissertation, but if you look it up, like, they are very, 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 very into the community, and what they believe is you're doing God's work by taking care of your fellow man, and that is the most important thing, is to lead by example. And what ends up happening because of the way that they believe, one of the things that happens is I've noticed, like, this is the truth. Like, I've seen they're very successful in every facet of their life because they're so communal. And I don't mean in a communist way. I mean like they're a community. And one of the things that they do in the Punjab region, it's Punjab, not Punjab, but Punjab region. If you look on a map, it's kind of like the northwest, whatever, of India. That region that they're from predominantly has become one of the most prominent regions in India because of their communal, like how they take care of each other and how they lift each other up. And they're all about, and they make a very small percentage of Indian population, but every one of them believes it's their civic duty to serve in the military. So they all fight in the wars, and they actually were very loyal even when Britain was in charge of India. They believed that, if it wasn't God's will, then Britain wouldn't have been in charge. So they fought for Britain, and they did everything they were supposed to do, even though they didn't agree with the way that the map was divided up when Nehru split it. Him and Gandhi, they did this deal where they split, from Pakistan became a country. People don't realize this either, that there's actually an East Pakistan and a West Pakistan, and they're divided from each other. People don't know that, but the point is that they fought for India, even though they didn't believe the way that their fellow Indians believed. They weren't Hindu. But they still fought for their country and they make up a very large part of the military, and they have more people who've been decorated, the Sikhs, than any other group from that country. And it's a shame that people don't know more about that. And one day I was talking with him, and he used to have a business, a smoke shop. And I haven't seen him in a few years, but we talked one day, and he was saying, he's like, if more people cared about each other, imagine what kind of world we would have.
Oh.
And he's absolutely right. I mean, I had someone, and this person means well. She wasn't trying to be ugly or mean. Her and her husband are supporters of the show. But they mentioned something to me at my conference, the first conference, and they said, if you didn't promote so many other people, you could do so much better, because you're giving all these people platforms and promoting them, and then it's taking away from your own views. And she's like, I'm not trying to be, tell you not to help people, whatever. And as it turns out, a couple of people at that conference were people I should not have helped. They're now members of the Filthy Five.
Right.
And no appreciation, but still. And what I told her and her husband was really her, but her husband was there with her. And I said, yeah, but that's not who we are here at PRT. And I am more interested in helping. I'm just as interested in helping my friends as I am helping myself. And I'm more interested in the community and creating something, because one day when I pass away, I'm gone. Your work will be left behind. And everything that you have will go to someone else. You don't take it with you. And
Correct.
You can say, hey, I gave the community something, knowledge to hang on to build on. And against all this resistance that is there, we still have more people who are trying to build what's, can at times seem like a backbiting and fractured community. But that isn't the real community. Those are just malcontents, and let them go and make their own community, and let us separate and make something good, because you and everybody else that's doing this and is doing it the right way, whether you're as big as Josh with the What Lurks Beneath, his channel absolutely dwarfs ours, or you're as small as some of these other people just starting out. We're all equal, and we're all working together for the same goal.
Agreed.
And that is most important to me. And that's what I want my legacy to be. What I leave behind, I want it to people to say, hey, here's his series of books he wrote. Here is his shows. Here's the information. These are the witnesses. I'm glad to say, like that third season of, what was it? We were talking about it last night. What's his name brought it up? The one I was on with Michael Sheehan. He's a producer.
Oh, These Woods Are Haunted.
These Woods Are Haunted?
Yeah, These Woods Are Haunted with Michael Sheehan's a producer over at Travel Channel. And so we,
Great episode, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, we did that show, right? But people don't know this, that several of those people on that show were our witnesses. that I gave to Sheehan, and Sheehan was
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah. And so Sheehan wanted us to do that. He was like, Josh, I really like that. The Church of the Forgotten. We have all this Dogman and Bigfoot, but what if we had this? And and so I said, okay, I'll do it. And I actually walked out during the recording of it because I didn't want to be there, and I had a lot to do, and I got kind of aggravated. And it was a simple, small thing. I was just like, look, I'm already dealing with all this stuff, and so. But I did it. And the whole reason I stayed there was because Anthony and Nellie reminded me why you're there. You're not there for yourself. This isn't about self-aggrandizement. This is because you have a vision. You're trying to build a community.
That was huge, man. I mean, that
that's
really
the whole
was.
point.
Yeah.
And I
when
want
we're
that to
gone,
happen.
Those videos, Josh, everything that you're making, everything you've made to this point. I mean, looking back that interview I did with you a couple years ago, I can't believe it's been a couple years already. That's all still going to be playing here, man. So 100% what you're saying is true, and people will be able to keep watching these for years to come.
Yeah. And that's what I want. And and that's why I'm willing to help out you guys, anybody, grow your channel. If it gets bigger than mine, so be it. Some people are like so worried. I told this to Anthony the other day. Some people, they're so worried about somebody doing better than them. And I'm thinking, dude, if one of your friends makes it big, you're connected to that person. That's your friend. You're there with them because I'm that way. If I make it big, everybody's coming with me. We're not just doing this on our own, and I'm never going to go up and be like, yeah, I just want to tell you all I'm really proud of myself and walk off. No. And some people are like that. They live for self-aggrandizement when it is a community. It is a team. And I tell people all the time, Paranormal Roundtable is like 8 people. It's not just me. There's a lot of people doing stuff behind the scenes that are helping us. And we are a part of a community, and you guys are like our cousins, and I look at it like, dude, there are so many people out there that help you get to where you're at. Why would you even be so arrogant and the hubris of people to think that they did it themselves? They don't even care about God. They don't
I
care
wouldn't
that,
be here without coming to that conference. I will always say that till the day I die. If it wasn't going to your conference and starting to do interviews, doing your show and a few other, I would not be talking to you right now.
Yeah. But you did. And I'm going to say something about Matt, folks, on here. At one point, when we were all out in the conference room, hanging out, talking, whatever, our dear friend Martin Gross was very sick, and I applaud him for showing up. He had double pneumonia. He was very, very ill, and you would not have guessed it the way he got up there and spoke with Daryl Denton. Yep. Two great guys, really good guys. And they're up there. They're, part of that clique with Barton, the Tennessee, Kentucky guys. And you disappeared. And so I was like, where is he at? And I think it was Letitia. She said he's helping Martin up to his room. And now people don't know, Matt has a prosthetic. He has one leg. Right. And you're helping this guy up. Then I thought, wow, that's a true guy. You're a true man. That is, you're an Ubermensch,
Yeah.
You're a real man. That's what you are. And so that really touched me. And me and Garetano talked about that. And Garetano's like, man, that's a great guy. We're all out here talking, whatever. And I didn't know that first of all, I didn't know, kudos to Martin, I didn't know he was ill. And then for you to be up there taking him up the stairs, you're the guy with one leg and you're doing more than most people with 2. And so I look at that and I think, man, there are people out there that need our respect, and then you have, OGs like Ron Moorhead, who showed up and was hanging out, and Ron's in his 80s, and he was there, in the UAB panel we had, and you had guys like Jesus Payan, another great guy. That conference was loaded top to bottom with all-stars. I mean, all-stars. The third one will be too. We were joking last night with Lyle, and I told Lyle and Ryan, I said, you guys are going to have to, we're going to have to corner Ken to get it, because Ken gets very stressed out because that second day, and I said this at the dinner, he got so mad because people weren't coming in the morning, and he's like, Barton got everybody drunk. And I was there, and I said, look, and I looked over at Weatherly, and Weatherly was kind of looking at me like, oh, Ken's kind of aggravated. He didn't believe that it was going to be that you could pack the house on a Sunday. And so David said, look, I know the last conference went well. The VIP was good this time. Saturday was good, but he goes, but I've never seen a conference do good on Sunday. I've never seen it. And I looked at David and I said, I think it's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. I looked over at Chad Lewis and Kevin, and I said, you watch. And Chad was like, this is my first one with you. I don't know, and I said, trust me. And then about 10:30, everybody started rolling in, and then you had a few hundred people walking around on a Sunday.
Yep.
And I said, there it is right there, because the paratroopers are strong, and they showed up. They showed up, and it was a great time. We had a great time.
It really was. It was epic.
Yeah, and I hope that you come back for this third one. We're looking at September in New Braunfels. It's a very pretty place.
Oh yeah,
a lot of stories out of that area.
Count on it.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into that because we've been talking for 2 hours now and not a lot of stories, and people are going to be getting anxious or whatever. So how would you like it if you co-hosted with me for the next hour and we talk about some stuff?
I would love to.
Yeah. So you the last time when I interviewed you, I don't think we talked about your near-death experience.
No.
So you're going to have to come on my show. We're going to talk about that. We got to get that done for a Thursday episode. But right now, what I want to do is talk about, since we're talking about the conference out in New Braunfels, of course, that area, not far from there, well, I'd say not far, but it's in between there, San Marcos and Blanco and that whole area, Wimberley. There have been a lot of sightings in an area called the Devil's Backbone. And recently we got a report of what someone described. This is a weird story. Now, they were driving down, what is that town? It's Green. Well,
yeah.
I know the town. What is that little highway that goes outside of New Braunfels?
I'd have to look it up.
Look it up to Green. So these people were actually from Minneapolis, and they were down visiting, and they were going to a reception. They didn't say whether it was a wedding. It was just an email I got. And they said they were going to a reception, and they were going out toward Green.
306.
306, Highway 306. So they were going down 306, going toward Green, and then if you go from there, that's like Riverfront Drive, right? It takes you to Riverfront Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you loop around. And so Green is an old historic German community outside of another historic German community, which is New Braunfels. And one of the things that we get some fairly odd reports out of there, but in particular, Dogman is very common along with Bigfoot, that whole region out there. When these people were driving, her name was Lydia, when she was driving, her husband, who had his right foot was in a boot, so he couldn't drive. And she's like, he's the worst backseat driver ever. And I said, how do you know? Maybe you're a bad driver. So I messaged her back, and I said, well, I could be a pretty bad backseat driver too, so I'm not going to comment on that. And so I was like, what do you got? And she's like, well, what we saw, she's like, and you're going to think I'm crazy. People always say that. And I said, no, trust me. There's some weird stuff that goes on out there. And she said, we saw what we thought was a big boulder on the side of the road. This was in broad daylight too, like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And she's like, and we were driving, and she's like, there was traffic everywhere, and it was on a Sunday. And she's like, and then all of a sudden there was nothing, no traffic anywhere. And I thought, that's really odd. And she's like, and so she was driving, and she said that what she thought was a boulder kind of just unfurled itself. And she said it almost looked like a statue, and it was gray, like the color of what they thought was this rock. But the really weird thing was the description of this creature. The head was wolf-like, the shoulders were like that of a man, the arms, and she said arms, were like a human arms, but with like claws on the ends, and then these weird backward bent legs. And she said that as we drove by it, she's like, me and my husband both, it was to the right of them. She's like, we slowed down, we looked, and we were like, oh my gosh, that rock just moved. Then she's like, then we said, it turned into what looked like a statue. But when we drove by, we saw the arms move up and down, and the chest was heaving. And she thought maybe it was some kind of animatronic animal type thing or whatever. As they kept driving, she says, I look in the rearview mirror and I see this thing get down on all fours and run across the road and into some woods. And she's like, at that point, she's like, I knew this wasn't no animatronic, whatchamacallit, whatever. This was something completely different. And so she asked me if I'd ever heard of anything like that. I said, not exactly like that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I started to think maybe you were going to say wings popped out and we have a gargoyle type situation.
Yeah. No gargoyle on this one. And so what I did, though, I looked into, and like I said, we keep files and we have, so I talked to Anthony and Tony and I was like, do we have anything off of that particular stretch of road? Well, we do. And of course, Tony's the worst. He is the world's worst. Folks, if you give him a report, maybe just drop him a message saying, can you please just turn it into me? Because he'll put it in his room. And I got one that was on it, literally on a notebook. And I walked into his room because we were talking about that. Tony's birthday was on the 25th. When was that? 3 days ago. So Tony's birthday comes, and he wanted this thing called a Steam Deck. Steam Deck or something like that. Him and Stefan are about the same age, and their birthdays are like a week apart. And they both wanted these video game things called Steam Deck. All right, so I went in there to talk to and their rooms are right next to each other. So I went into Tony's room, and I was sitting there talking to him, and I put my hand on the desk, and there's like a notebook. And I'm like, what is this? It's like filled with reports. And I told Anthony, I said, go look at your I call him his brother, not brothers, but I said, go look at your brother's room. What is that? And Tony's like, half asleep. He's like, well, I've been really busy. And I said, yeah, it looks like it. You've been busy just putting stuff on a piece of paper and never letting me know that, heck, show me what's going on here. What am I doing? And so I snatched it up. That was about a week ago. And I started going through there, and lo and behold, there was one on there, smack dab on the front of it, from a woman from a long time ago who had moved from New Braunfels to Arizona. And then she moved back. But now where she's living is in a small little community called Kerrville, like right outside of Kerrville. And we get reports out of there too, that whole region, man. If you come down, I'll take you to these areas and I'll show you. And I'll show you what I showed Barton and what I showed Bettina and Maddie and Chris. These people, like, they were shocked at how heavily wooded that area is and the cave systems. Barton and Letitia can tell you that whole area, it looks like anything could live there. A Bigfoot, Dogman, Pterodactyl, T-Rex, whatever. It looks like anything could live over there. And it does. And I really believe that, folks. So I was reading one of the reports, and so I got in touch with this woman. And one of the things that she told me, she says, I didn't see anything, but I went camping out there, and shortly after you had talked about these people that were camping in an RV, and I think I remember the story, and there's been a few, but I think I know the one she was talking about. She says that we heard the weirdest noise, and it sounded like something shrieking off in the distance. She's like echoing off of this like mountain. There's a small mountain out there where she was at, and it's off of by the Guadalupe River, and she heard the shrieking noise, and her husband was outside grilling and talking to one of the neighbors that they had met that was also camping there, and everybody just kind of froze, and it was dark, and they were like, what is that? And then to their left, they see this extremely large, what looks like a black shadow, but it's like the biggest man you've ever seen in your life, and it just moves really quick and then like runs into the woods, and they hear this crashing and breaking and everything. And her husband was literally flipping burgers, and he just drops the spatula and goes, okay. And they all kind of piled into their RV real quick, and they were standing there, and they were like, what was that? What was that? And she said that the shadow and everything looked like a Sasquatch, like how it would look, even had a conical-looking head. She said the scariest part about it, though, was that shriek sounded like it was half a mile away.
Close.
So, yeah, but it was actually just right there. And I said, well, do you think that that's the creature? That's the being that made the noise? And she said, every fiber of my being was telling me that was the same thing.
That's odd.
Yeah, and so how they're able to do this now. Have you heard of this before, Matt? Like where they're able to, I don't want to say throw your voice because I don't know if that's the accurate term, but
I understand what you mean. I have. I've heard
think of the
some people
1870s.
tell the experiences where they will be able to make a call, and it sounds like they're farther or closer than they really are.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's not like echolocation, but it's like you get, I've talked to Barton about this. I've talked to him and Ken and Lyle, David. We've all had this conversation. And just, I don't know if me and you've talked about it before. We've talked about so much, but these flying humanoids, right? And I'm actually in the process of writing a book about that. I just started, and it's going to tie into vampires because I think there's a connection there. But these flying humanoids, I'll take whatever you got. What is this? I'll drink that. Doesn't matter. These flying humanoids will sometimes they'll make these noises and it'll echo off of like buildings and things like that. I had a guy that was a guard who worked in the building that we dubbed, well, I say we, Anthony actually, the Haunted Tower. And that particular guard said that when he had his encounter with what he saw, it almost looked like a crawler, but with like sort of like bat-like wings. It was a really creepy thing, and it was stuck to one of the windows. And he was doing his rounds, and he looks and he sees this white, pale, as Barton would call it, an inhumanoid, like hanging on the outside of a window. And he said that, dude, this thing was almost translucent, and then it took off, you know. But he said that he heard this like echoing noise for 2 or 3 days prior to that. Now, shame on me because when I first talked to him, and his name is Jason, and I did not ask him exactly like what, like I didn't get all the details. And so I talked to him one day. He messaged me and he says, "Hey man, I saw your live stream the other day and it had been a while since I watched the show." And he said, "You know, there's something to be said for these flying humanoids because," he goes, "I think that there was like some clues that it was around because the buildings right there where this building is," he said, "I would be out on the outside doing my rounds going up to the parking garage and whatever." And he goes, "And then one day I was at the 7-Eleven and I was smoking a cigarette with one of the guys that works there. And we heard this clicking noise. It was really loud and it actually hurts your ears. And then we heard like a popping, cracking noise and then a shriek. And it was like echoing off of the buildings."
And that popping, cracking noise is a very normal sound you hear a lot of times with, you know, whatever you want to call them, cryptids or humanoids or whatever. And you mentioned, you know, that translucence. You hear that sometimes with some of these beings. You know, you look at, for instance, what like the cuttlefish can do, can basically turn itself translucent, almost invisible. And you have these things that people say, well, look at how big they are. How can they possibly, you know, not be seen? Well, if a cuttlefish can do that with itself, then some of these beings could definitely hide themselves, cloaking or whatnot.
Yeah, and it's so weird because when you like, you know, okay, like there's so many scientists now that are coming out and saying that they don't believe that the cephalopods, like the octopi, the squid, all these different types of, you know, and then the arthrocephalopods and the extension, but they're saying that they don't match, their DNA doesn't match anything. Like they're not like us in any shape or form.
Right.
And that they believe that they may have come here from somewhere else.
Exactly.
You
I've
know?
heard that as well.
Mm-hmm. And so you get these weird, like the cloaking thing. You get these weird, like stories of Bigfoot and these dogmen and these flying cryptids, humanoids, whatever you want to call them, cloaking. And they all do it, and it's so weird. So that would say that if they're a physical creature, or at least physical, they can manifest as physical, and say that they come from the underground, whatever. Let's just say that they're, you know, they would have some sort of common ancestor, like some sort of commonality or something. Or if they're bioengineered, maybe from an ancient time civilization, Anunnaki, whatever. Or if they're bioengineered by a shadow agency, whatever, they're using something very similar to these creatures. You know what I mean? That's giving them this ability to camouflage. Now, here's something I'm going to throw out there to the audience and to you, Matt. Imagine this. Let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm not saying this is exactly what I believe, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that they are being engineered. That's the first scenario we're going to throw out there. Whether they're being engineered by a civilization that lives under the ground or from an ancient whatever, just somebody is bioengineering them. Imagine that they took a common ancestral species like the cephalopods and their ability to cloak and camouflage and whatever, and they use that as one of the bases for these creatures. And then from there, they add other DNA like wolf DNA or ape DNA or bat DNA, and they mix it together, and then they spit out these chimeras. Does that sound plausible? Do you think that could be what's happening? And they're using different types of and let's take it a step further. It might not be just creatures from Earth. It could be some sort of alien species that they're throwing in there too. And maybe these creatures were already here, and then they just decided to mix it up and add something else to it. You know, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's 100%. You look at, for instance, the Dulce base of what happened under there, and the story that was supposedly where the military had to go in and they were fighting with aliens in the Dulce, New Mexico. And some of the stories that were coming out of there about them, taking humans and putting them in vats and body parts and that. Well, if you think about what you just talked about, if you're taking aliens, for instance, and be it if they're not from outer space, maybe from a parallel universe, you're hearing a lot of talk about them coming through portals and maybe from somewhere instead of our known universe or unknown universe, and they're down there doing that kind of stuff. Why wouldn't it, make sense that they're possibly making some other type of being? They create it and they're coming from caves. You hear a lot of people talking about these cryptids or humanoids, again, whatever you want to call them, coming out from, Middle Earth or coming out in droves from caves on the ground.
Yeah. Wooden Fossil says, no, science is way too primitive. Can't clone a mammoth yet. Wooden Fossil, I don't know if you're new to the chat, new to the show, but we're not talking about me and Matt going and doing this, okay? We're not talking about the science that's available to us common folks. We're talking about a science that's really like a black science, like black magic even, is almost to the point of what that would be. And it's being wielded by people who are unscrupulous. They don't have any morals. They have no moral conundrum about creating a chimeric creature, stealing a soul and sticking it into. It gets kind of weird. So Wooden Fossil, I haven't seen you around before, but and not to be offensive to you or make you feel like you're not smart or special, but this is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about our science. And if the military-industrial complex has the science, you can rest assured we're not going to have it, because what they get, they're 50 years ahead of us.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And you hear about the story. All I have to say is you hear about some of the creatures out there like Dogman, and then you go into experiencers like Joe Barger, for instance, and the asset.
And you hear that. That's not, his story is not really unique other than he shot it.
Correct.
Because you hear that like these black SUVs and helicopters showing up looking for these assets. I got a story out of Alaska near Vallejo, which was really it was interesting to say the least. And it was a giant wolf. It never did anything Dogman-like or anything, but they were looking for it, and they were using a black helicopter and some black, vehicles that were asking people, hey, have you seen this animal? Why were they looking for this oversized wolf? Now, like I said, the witnesses said it didn't have anything special other than it was about half the size of an SUV, which is pretty special, but it didn't stand up on its hind legs. It didn't do anything like that. But, here's another one. And I'm going to throw this one out there. And I talked about this one yesterday when I was with my colleagues at the restaurant. We were all talking, colleagues / friends. And there was a woman who reached out to us, and Anthony is taking a call in the other room. But I can't remember her name, but he probably would, but he was involved in the call. So she actually gave us information about what would be considered an abduction. And this is why it's so important that every Saturday, folks, listen to what I'm going to tell you. Every Saturday for the month of February, I'm going to be doing a Zoom call, and it's going to be with different people in the community. This first one's going to be with let's see who's going to do it. Christopher Jordan, Jason McLean. And then I'm going to have some other people come on, like Albert Rosales and James Bartley. And we're going to do these roundtables. Redfern was going to be one of them because me and Redfern were supposed to write a book about it afterwards. His father got ill and he had to move back to England. So that project is being put on hold indefinitely until we can figure out what is going on. If your stream is buffering for some reason, which it's not showing anything on our end, just do us a favor and do a refresh. If you can refresh, it'll help. Okay. So thank you for that donation. Everybody that's donated, Valerie Geist just donated. We're going to read off the names if anybody we may have missed at the end of the show. But this, what she told us was quite interesting. She said that she saw these beings, which her abduction, like so many others, had started out with these grays, and then it turned into like these humanoid creatures. She says humanoid, but the way she described them to us was very much that they were humans, but that they were not real people. And how she found this out was very simple. One of them had this like white wand looking thing with a ball on the end of it that was like a red ball of light. And it was weird. It wasn't like an LED, whatever. She's like almost like an independent energy source, like at the top of this. And when they touched the side of this thing, what was their face was like melted away. It was gone. And there were these lizard-looking things. She said the only way that she could really describe them was like they were from the movie V, or the show V. And when she asked us, and of course Anthony had never seen this show, and he's like, well, I don't know what that is. And I said, well, no, it was a show from the 80s. Of course, Anthony wasn't even thought of. And I said, I was a little kid. And as a kid, I thought it was very interesting. You've seen it, Matt, and it's creepy, right? Well, she said that it seemed like these things were like their face, and there was just like this weird, like kind of haze around their face. And then she was staring down into like what looked like a warehouse, like a facility. And she said that I think that they had me in some sort of earthbound facility. We weren't in orbit anywhere. We weren't in space. But she said that it was almost like they wanted her to believe that. And then one of them told her to go lay back down where she was at. And right when she did, she turned. Right when she turned, she looked back, and for a split second, and one of them did the thing with the wand, and everything that was in that warehouse was gone. Like it was an empty square room with little square tiles everywhere, all over the place.
Like a hologram.
Like a hologram. And she said that those holograms, she saw things that looked like werewolves, things that looked like four-legged animals she'd never seen before, and there were some that even looked like Bigfoot. And she's like, I don't know what I was looking at or what that was, but she goes, that was one of the worst. She's like, because it made me question my reality. Now, when she told her preacher that this whole thing had happened, what he told her was, well, they're demons, because that's the answer to everything. But he said that they're demons, and they did all that so that they could trick you into believing that everything is not real. And, they're just trying to make you think that this is, and I was listening to this and I was like, okay, these beings are going to go through this huge, elaborate hoax for one person. They're going to do this for one person just so they can make that one person believe something. And so I asked her this very simple question. I'll say her name is A. We'll call her A. I don't want to say her name. And I said, A, do you believe this? What your preacher's explanation was, that these are just demons and they're messing with you to deceive you, and playing around with holograms. And she says, no, I do not. She's like, but I was made to feel like if I don't accept that explanation, that I'm not a good person. You know, I'm resisting my, whatever, my pastor. And I said, well, how well do you know this guy? She's like, I've been at that church for like 13 years. I said, okay, well, you know him pretty well. She's like, but he's only been the preacher for 2 years. She's like, his dad passed away and he inherited the pulpit. And I said, well, how do you feel about him? And she's like, I think that he's the kind of person that just tells people what they want to hear. I said, yeah. And he doesn't want to hear what you have to say. So you have to go to somebody who's going to listen to what you're saying. Now, right. I don't have the answers, but I'm not going to give her that kind of a explanation because I don't believe that. But what I will say is this. Although demons are real and they do trick people and they do mess with people and they do what they do, I have a hard time believing that these beings are going to abduct this woman for whatever reason. And it's happened. That was like the 4th or 5th time she'd been abducted. And at that point in time, she was in her, I think she said late teens, early 20s. She was like 19, 20. And she said that this was not, an isolated incident, whatever, the first time she was abducted, right? And so by the time that this particular incident happened, I think she said she was like, 26, something like that. And she said it had been going on and on and on. Now she's like 40. Okay. And it's just continually been going on and on. She said that was the only time that those beings ever showed their face. Every other time they looked like humans. And she no longer was dealing with the grays, this small squirts that do to me, they're biological robots or some sort of mercenary race, Right. And so she said that was it. That was the last time she ever saw them. And she said that one of these beings was, I guess you could call it benevolent, but it told her, it said, look, our physical appearance is not, it's not, you don't like it, so we're going to make sure that we show you, we look like you. and though she asked the question, the last time she had been abducted, which from the time that we talked to her had been only 6 months ago. And she said that they were a lot more kind to her. She wouldn't call them friendly, but they were kind. And it was whatever it is that they were needing from her. It is weird, though, because she is a person that has not, and how do we say this without YouTube getting upset or whatever, a particular thing that people were getting to prevent a disease. Let's put it that way. Okay. She didn't get that. And she asked the question about why, because they had told her that they were not going to be taking her anymore. That was like a few years ago. And they said, well, we need people who haven't gotten that. And she said, why? And these beings went on to tell her, because it basically ruins the person. You're poisoned. Now, this is what she said. I'm not saying, folks, that this is my belief. And I'm not injecting my belief into that. And I'm not saying that this is like the gospel truth or whatever. But they also said that if she would have taken that, she would never be able to see through their holograms. Basically, point blank. Said that's it. And described what it was. Now, here's another interesting aspect to this whole whatever. They took a jar, this one that was particular friends with her, and showed this, what looked almost like a black spider web that was stuck out different ways in the jar. And she said it looked almost like some sort of weird, like a fractal going, like 2 or 3 fractals put together going in different directions. And she's like, what is that? And he told her, he goes, this is your cure. This is what they're doing. And this is, when she looked at that, he's like, if I open this jar and throw it on the ground, it's like it's going to go toward the nearest heat source and crawl up inside of one of us. then it's going to replicate and destroy you from the inside. And he says this. He says, we are not your enemy. We look, not appetizing to you, and it was weird that he used the words kind of. I asked her that. I said, did he say that? Kind of like something you'd want to eat on a buffet. And she said, yes.
Right.
Not flavorful, not like you want to eat us. He said this. He said, there are others like us who are very warlike, very barbaric, not as domesticated. They'll eat you. That flat out told him. He told her and says, but we're not that. And our origin is actually here. We are from here. These other ones are not from here. And they are part of a group that has been fighting with them for a long time. But a couple of their scientists, I guess you could call them, were heavily involved in trying to come up with an alternative to this black goo, which creates these tube-like blood things in your body. And like I want to say as little as possible. I want to get into what, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I'm not going to say it. That's why I want to go to some other platforms to talk about stuff like this. But then she said that when they switched this hologram back on, she could see it clear as day. Like it was like actual people moving, walking, talking people, and that they could be used and manipulated. And he even told her, he said, this is what he said. There are over 100 different types of species that are not humans that are walking amongst you. And that any of them have this technology. This is very basic technology. But we don't have it. So that being said, that's one of the stories I wanted to tell today. What are your thoughts on that? I know that's a lot to take in, Matt. But give me your thoughts on that, and anybody in the chat that wants to comment, you tell me what you think.
Well, first and foremost, you bringing up about how the face came off and the lizards came in. A lot of people, I have to mention this. You hear so many people talk about these days Hollywood and TV giving snippets of real information to the public through movies and TV shows. Well, you hear about these lizard beings that have actually are in control supposedly of our planet. The evil, I forget, draconians or whatever are the evil lizard species from other planets that are at war with other types. And I agree with you about the grays, the tellings that have been going on more and more that we hear that they're more like an android, that they're not really a live being, more like just a robot. But you have them in control and fighting with whatever other species. Extremely interesting that chemical could cause that type of issue. And if that is what's really going on, then you have that other species that's trying to control the human race, utilizing that to keep our eyes masked from the truth. And it's extremely interesting and makes you think. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, and the fact that she said that that those beings were I'm sorry, like I had to step out and I to take a call, and then I came back like in the middle of the story. But she said that the ones who were interacting with her, that they were from here, native to Earth.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that the ones that she was in contact with were from Earth originally, that they are not evil, that they're here to help us, but are at war with what, we always hear about people talking about evil lizards or evil reptilians from other planets, or I forget the part of the galaxy that they're from. Maybe somebody in the chat can shoot that up. But you always hear about that one violent reptile race. They're the giant reptiles that eat humans, very violent, warlike. And then, it just sounds to me, at least from her description, if that was true, but from her story, is that chemical that a lot of people take that we won't mention.
Yeah.
Could it be there if there is someone else in control of this planet? They're utilizing that to keep our eyes masked from the truth. It's really a crazy thought to think of if it was true.
And these had a reptilian appearance.
Yeah, that apparently they had some type of wand with a red energy ball at the end of it, and when she had turned around, one had it near its face and melted away the face, or brought a hologram away from the face and saw the true look, and they were lizard people.
Yeah, see,
But
I
apparently
wouldn't.
good.
So I have this, I guess, idea or postulation that, like, just because these beings, like these seemingly benevolent extraterrestrial or ultra-terrestrial, basically non-human humanoid beings, just because like they're not actively hostile towards people or towards us, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have our best interest in
they're
mind.
not good.
Agreed.
Because if, like, okay, like we, like I love animals, right? And most people with a good head on their shoulders do.
Well, a good heart.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean they have.
Well,
good,
yeah,
they're not good.
with a good heart, do love animals, but we're not gonna stop like eating meat just because of that. It would be like, okay, like we want our cattle to have a good life, right? We want to raise them and we want them to just live a peaceful life, but it's ultimately so that we can consume them. Like it doesn't mean that we have their best interest in mind.
As a rancher and coming from a farm ranch background, which we both do, we know that at the end of the day, this is livestock.
Yeah.
You don't want to hurt the animals or debase them in any way, but at the end of the day, that's their primary function. And that's something that I don't eat a lot of beef.
Yeah.
I just don't. And
whether it's beef, pork, chicken, whatever.
Yeah. I don't have the same connection with chickens. I just don't. I mean, some people are like, oh, I love chickens and they're sweet animals, whatever, but I don't. I just don't have the same connection. But I have made connections with cows and with pigs, and they seem to be very sentient, and they want to live just like everyone else. Oh, my God.
Pigs especially.
I have a pig.
So intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
But the point is...
You have a pet. Josh has a pet, for sure. You told me about it.
But the point is, I mean, like, maybe to them, we're the cattle, but we're the chickens, we're the pigs, and they may not necessarily be wanting to consume us, literally in the way that we consume animals, but for some reason, like there's some use that we have to them that is not necessarily in our best interest to be useful for, like it benefits them but not us, so it doesn't mean that they're our friends.
So when we talked about this story, that we were talking about it last night, I thought you were a part of that conversation. And then I heard you asking Matt, like, about the story. The woman's name starts with an A. If you remember, we talked about it last night.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it was not. I think that because there were two different ones that were very similar. This isn't the one with the honeycomb. We haven't told that one yet. That's a different one. I'm not talking about that one. Okay. I'm talking about the one from. She's from Illinois. Mm-hmm. Her name starts with an A. Okay. Do you remember?
I think so. They kind of run together.
Yeah, they do. They do. They kind of, and it's no offense to anybody that gives us a story, but when you field enough reports, that can happen. I mean, and I've actually been guilty of like starting to tell one story, and then it's like this is someone else's story, and actually the person texted me and said this is not the story. And I'm like, okay, that's two different ones, but they're very similar. There's one, this one was the one we were talking about last night, and I just gave a brief overview of it, and it was brought up in the conversation. It was you Anthony, I think you were probably on the far end of the table, but it was me, Lyle, Ryan Edwards, Jason McLean, Tex, and Rod Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
We were all sitting at the table, and I think you came around the other side and sat down. But you were actually on the one call with this lady. His name starts with an A. That was the one where you and I and Tony kind of went back and forth about. Because there's more to the story, folks. But we went back and forth about this next part, and I think this will refresh your memory. So, the one of the things that she told us was when she was driving down the highway in Illinois, and she was right outside of Chicago, heavy traffic, everything sort of kind of faded away. Kind of like the first story we were talking about, where it seemed like there was no traffic all of a sudden, which is weird. That's weird how that happens. It's like you step into another world temporarily. And she started feeling dizzy. She's like, now when I start to feel nauseous or dizzy, that could be a sign that something's about to happen. So she's like, I pulled over, and the whole world sort of looked like blurry, wavy lines. Now, you remember when we were talking about the blurry, wavy lines, and we kind of got in a debate about what it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Alternate realities, timelines. Our scientist friend over at the Pinballs was like, that can't be with the, like he didn't believe in the different string theory and all that.
Yeah.
But everybody's got their own opinion about what this is. Everything faded away, then kind of became pixelated, and then in the middle of what should have been the highway, three of these beings come out of what looks like nothing. And it was like this almost black plexiglass, as she described it, kind of like went blah, 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 like that. And they just walk out of it. Now, one of the things that Christopher Jordan, and I don't want to say too much about our conversation because it was such a good conversation. I want to get him and I want to get Jason on this coming Saturday, folks. You got to tune in. We're going to do it every Saturday at 8 p.m., okay, for the next month. And it's going to be what we call the UAP project. I've been working on this for a while, and this was a prelude right there we were talking about. This is awesome. It was a preview. Listening to them talk, and it was about black mirrors. And Jordan made a good point. He said, and this is how this conversation kind of came up, these beings, he's like, that's a scrying mirror. When you take your phone, you got your phone, is it off?
No, it's got to stay on for the chat.
Okay, so you can't turn it off. If you turn your phone off and just look at it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. That right there is like a magic device with a black mirror on there. If you have a black screen television, when you turn that television off, that's a black mirror. Now,
right.
Look into what that means. Now, this woman, what she told us was that this sort of rounded, black mirrored plexiglass looking thing that kind of went boom, boom, boom behind them as they entered our reality. Now, the question for me that I had with him and Tony was, what are we dealing with? Was she actually in a car in this reality? Was she, like, did they come into our reality? Were we already in their reality? Like, what was really going on? But however you slice it, there was a black sort of mirrored image that was behind them that they stepped out of. And they took her at that point, and she went unconscious and then woke up again. She woke up inside of some sort of facility, and there again, they looked completely human, but she knew that they were not because she had already seen their faces. Now, if you stop and you think about that, and what Christopher Jordan said last night at dinner about the scrying mirror, he's like, literally, that's what these are. And then there was this whole conversation that kicked off between all of us about magic versus science. Divination, yeah, and what is really going on. Because aliens are demons, demons are aliens, but that's two different things, being two different things. So it's really hard to kind of navigate that. What I will say right now, though, is we're going to try and get some answers. I'm going to have at least like 8 or 9 different people coming on over the next month. That will be every Saturday, folks. So join us here for like 2 hours every Saturday with different guests, different combinations of people. And we're going to talk about this. Science, AI, magic, demons, aliens, alien abduction, unidentified aerial phenomena, how it's connected, is it connected? And we're going to get the opinions of multiple people and some of the smartest people that I know in this field, and we're going to get them on and we're going to talk about it really, really hot and heavy. It's going to be good. It's going to get real good. Coming on Saturday. So remember, folks, Tuesdays we're on like regular. That's the real, actual regular show that began and started it all. Wednesday is going to be what used to be Thursday, at least for this coming month, because in Thursday I'm going to be on Blondes and Booze. And we had originally kicked around the idea about leaving the Thursday show where it was at and then afterwards going to Blondes and Booze. But I thought, why have that? And then, because it'll confuse people. So on Thursday, it's not going to be PRT. I'm going to be on Blondes and Booze on Thursdays, and we're going to be conducting interviews, and I'm going to be on their show. And I think it's going to be really fun. So check me out on Blondes and Booze every Thursday. Now, you have to subscribe to comment on that. I think that's because you do, and the reason you want to do that in smaller channels, I'm going to tell you this, Matt, and I think is that, let me see my glasses here. I think Rye Voss just showed up. Rye, this is for you too, and BMR, Blondes and Booze, all of you guys, Tex, all of you guys with the channels that are up and coming, Barton, do yourself a favor and do that. Make sure that people that are commenting are subscribers, because people will come into your chat just to mess around, just to play around, and they'll say this and they'll say that. But if they're going to get their word in to say something, then they damn well better be subscribed.
Okay.
So
you have to have a setting for that. Is it you
after the show we'll tell you exactly how that works.
Okay.
So if you're not doing that, Rye, that's you need to message Gary Brand, let him know that too. All the smaller channels. Bettina, all of you guys, I'm telling you, you got to do that, because if you don't, then you're giving people free reign to come in and say all kinds of crap, and a lot of people that don't like you, they won't subscribe to you no matter what. They won't do it, to save their life.
Well, then they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, exactly. So they shouldn't be there and be able to comment, because it cut down on a lot of the bullshit. Excuse my language, BS, whatever. But it cuts it down so that they can't come in and just say a bunch of crap and bombard you with mess. But that's very important. We were giving some pointers to Krista and Brandy here on Friday after the show. But that's important, and so what you need to do, folks, is mark your calendar, because February we're going to be on Tuesday. We're going to be on Wednesday. Remember, that's going to be the hour going before Barton does his show, so we don't step on anybody's toes that are friends of ours. So from 7 to 8, we're going to do our show, and then as soon as it's over, go hop over, check out Barton. He's always got something good going on. Then on Thursday, I'm going to be with Blondes and Booze, and then Friday we'll do our interviews like normal. We have it booked until the middle of March. At that point, we're going to kind of reevaluate and decide if we're going to keep the Friday live stream. And then Saturday is going to be the UAP project for an entire month. And then every Saturday. And then that's right here at PRT. And then on Sunday, the normal Sunday live chat, which we're going to decide whether or not we keep this one or not, too. At this point, I'm going to be real honest. I don't know. I can't tell you. Fridays after March, we could kill it. That's more likely. Sunday we'll probably keep for a little while. We get a bigger crowd. But we don't put a lot of ads on our stuff, so there's not much revenue that comes in from that. And that's a problem, because we're trying to keep everything free and not have it behind a paywall. But that means that we have to depend on people's mercy. And when it's a slow month like this, where, everybody's got the Christmas hangover or whatever, we actually are losing money to be on the air. And that's not feasible. That's not sustainable. We can't do it indefinitely. Something has to give. because we run businesses, and time is money. And as much as I'd love to do this permanently and do it for a living, I'm not there yet. My goal is to have several books written by a certain time period, and but I'm not going to just throw them out there willy-nilly, because I have one that's almost complete, but it needs a lot of tweaking and a lot of work, and I have to make sure that it gets done a certain way. I can't just throw it out there and be like, well, here's some crap that I want because I want to make a certain goal. So, yeah, meeting that goal would be nice, but it's also very important that it comes out worth the crap, because I don't want to be one of these self-published authors. Go grab a book over there off the shelf. Or you can, do you have that? The excerpt?
Oh, yeah.
From a particular author. We'll call him A.D. Bobberts. Because he's a spiteful little jolly old elf, and he'll probably get angry. But how many times does he repeat that same word? And like Ryan Edwards, who's 22 years old, looked at it and said, man, you couldn't find synonyms?
Yeah, so I just plucked one of his books up randomly. Just out of morbid curiosity. I'm not going to. Just out of morbid curiosity, and I opened a random book to a random page, and I saw the same word on the same page, like whispered, because he's talking about like dialogue between two characters, and they're going back and forth talking. He says whispered like probably at least 15 times on one page. The same word over and over. So-and-so, blah, 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 whispered so-and-so, blah, 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 whispered so-and-so, blah, 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 whispered so-and-so, blah, 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 whispered so-and-so, whispered this, whispered that. The same, dude, this is like the most basic, fundamental, rule. Like, you don't repeat the same word over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Like, this is a published author?
Mm-hmm. And according to Swamp Ass, this guy is the greatest author that's ever lived of the cryptid community. I also watched his show when he was on with Josh Nonocchio, and I got to say, your episode, Josh Nonocchio, was one of the greatest ever. His was like one of the worst ever, and they couldn't be further apart. He even went so far on that show as to say that it's very common for animals to walk in the snow and then stop and then go absolutely backwards in their tracks. And
Really?
and yeah, he claims that happens all the time. That the animals love four-legged animals do not make a habit of walking backwards. Okay?
I don't think I've ever seen video of that.
The dude's full of shit. I can tell you that. I mean, and at our conference, of course, he claims to have seen a Bigfoot. And apparently, a few people that were at the Gatlinburg, was it Gatlinburg, they said? Or the one somewhere in Tennessee, he went to a conference. Of course, he saw Bigfoot there, too. So he's seeing Bigfoot everywhere he goes. He goes to a Denny's, and he's like, yeah, there's a Bigfoot in the restroom, and I saw a Bigfoot. So apparently he sees Bigfoot everywhere, but they're flesh and blood, so flesh and blood Bigfoot lives everywhere. And he is an enemy of the woo, unless it comes to his dear friend Swamp Ass, who can come on his show and talk about all kinds of kooky stuff. And then it's all good. Then it's, oh, well, he hates Josh Turner, so that guy's got to be correct. Even though if he's talking about, Oogie Boogie coming out of the swamp and turning into a bat, he'll applaud it because of his hatred for me.
Yeah.
Which his hatred for me, I think, pretty much began because I espoused the woo. So he goes and gets another guy who espouses the woo who hates me. Now, how does that even make any damn sense? It doesn't.
I was on, not to interrupt you, Josh, I was on Dr. Russ Jones' show not too long ago. And, you have him and his partner, Brad, that really are from more that camp of they believe more in natural things. But even Dr. Jones will say, the older I've gotten, the more I've seen things, the more I've researched, you got to take into account there really is some woo going on. And I liked hearing that. I like that mindset because there's a crap load of woo going on.
I one time was very much Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature. Dogman must be a flesh and blood creature because what I saw that night on October 31st, 1990, looked very much like a flesh and blood creature. It manipulated a fence. It did things that looked very physical. But from his own mouth, Anthony, you've heard him say, like, he was like, there was a black mist coming off the back of its neck.
Yeah.
What kind of creature? I didn't see that, but I believe my friend's brother. Well, he's my friend too. I'm just saying one of my friends, you know. But I believe it. I mean, there were so many people in our hometown, and now on one we're going to record for one of the Tuesday episodes, and we're going to talk about one of the people who in my hometown, one of their well, not just one, but one of their really very telling encounters that led to another person that gave us an encounter that was related to them, or related to them by marriage. But it to me, it speaks volumes to what we're dealing with, and what we're dealing with, and this is what Ken Gerhardt opened up with at the last conference, the first conference. He opened it up with this. And I believe if you go to Daniel Jones, who is going to be one of the people appearing hopefully in this February, he'll be coming on and talking on one of the Saturday shows about the UAP. And Daniel Jones, it's called The Vortex, right?
Yeah.
I think you could, because I gave him permission. I said he could have it. I gave him all of that conference. He could just use it. It's on his channel if you want to watch the first conference. Is it called The Vortex?
I believe so.
Well, Daniel Jones has it recorded, and Ken was there. He was the first. He opened. He was the MC, and he says, "I believe that Dogman, this is going on, but I don't believe that it's a flesh and blood thing." He just doesn't. I mean, and after helping me, him and Barton, with all of the interviews for my books, the first 2 books that came out, I mean, we interview bunches and bunches and bunches of people, and they all are kind of saying the same thing, and we didn't cherry pick. I didn't go, well, let's just interview these people over here, and let's not interview these people over here, because that's not me. I'm not the BFRO. I know that they like to cherry pick like certain stories. A lot of these organizations do, okay, just so they can create a narrative. Now, that's not me, okay? So what the hell are people thinking that some sort of evolutionary creature just became this dogman thing? I have no idea where that comes from. The thing that you saw, Matt, okay, whether it manipulated things or looked a certain way or whatever, I have my extreme doubts that this thing was purely physical.
It was not, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's no way.
Hearing what you said, that was it your cousin or your friend that saw the wisp come off the back of its neck?
It was it was technically, it would be my best friend's brother, but he's one of my best friends too. So one of my friends that was there that night.
So that's very telling to me, because of what I saw happen, especially when that thing left the building right before it attacked us. When the train came, it changed form just before it left the building. It turned into basically a big black mass, and just looked like a shadow leaving the building. Then you hear what your friend saw on the back of its neck. It's very comparative and telling.
Yeah, and you got AD Bobblehead, who wants to say that these things are a flesh and blood being.
Not what I saw.
Yeah, and it's just it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, to go on Josh's show, and not to discredit Josh, because Josh and him met at my first conference, and I was sitting right there at the table when the collaboration was taking root. And I thought this guy was my friend until I found out all these things that he was doing. But the crazy, about it is, he gets on there and just spews the absolute biggest bunch of crap to me, and it's like animals, it's like Josh Cutchins when he's talking about, and Josh is going to be on the show in a couple weeks. I don't know exactly what day. Let me look it up real quick and I'll tell you, because when he comes on, that's when we're going to start talking. February 16th, I got Josh Cutchin. Josh Cutchin wrote a book, Where the Footprints End. And what he's referring to, thanks, Ania, for that donation. And who else donated? I can't remember. Mo, you missed it. We talked about Dogman earlier, but I promise before we leave, I'll tell you another one.
It's Jordan Cogburn.
Jordan Cogburn, thank you. And whoever else donated, we're going to make sure we give a shout out to you. We appreciate the donations greatly. But what he's talking about is like there's footprints, whether they're in the mud or the snow or whatever, and then they just stop. Now, that doesn't mean that this creature just goes flying up into the air or walks into a portal, but bull crap that these animals are all walking backwards into their own footprints. Like, first of all, yeah, that could be. There may be cases of that happening, very rarely. But to sit there and think that an animal is like going to look at its, and a four-legged animal's doing this, right? To basically explain all of these cases. And when these people do this, Matt, what they end up doing, it gets so ridiculous. Their explanations become more stupid and more paranormal than the paranormal. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it becomes dumber than is like, what is this?
I could see like a rarity, like 1 out of a billion animals doing that somehow. I just can't picture, like, for instance, a deer walking backwards through its tracks. I'm not trying. I've never heard of that before. I'm not trying to start anything with anyone. I've never heard that in my life.
Yeah, and you're a nice guy, Matt, but you don't have to say it. I'll say it. This is dumbest crap, okay, that comes out of these people's mouths, and they sit there and they say it with such authority, and they're like, well, this is blah 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 blah, and they make it sound like believable, and you're sitting there watching, and you're going like, what is this? It doesn't make any sense at all. And then you have people that comment, wow, this guy's got such good blah, blah, blah. And I'm vomiting into a trash can in my study. And I literally was like, this is ridiculous. And these are the people who are that are throwing these major temper tantrums and angry because they're not popular or whatever it is. Well, when you come up with that kind of dribble, and you pass it off as scientific, which he tries to do, but you want to be taken seriously. Okay, you want to be taken seriously as a researcher, as a YouTuber in this subject. Stop writing fiction books and using the same word 20 times on a page, dumbass. That's all I got to say about that. I'm going to let it go. But when you look at that, this is a big problem, and I'll tell you why. Because YouTube and all these other platforms give everybody a voice. But like David Weatherly likes to say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Not everybody that can type needs to be writing a book. And not everybody that can talk needs to be on the air. And I'm dead serious about that. Like I said, and I'm not saying this because you're on the show or just because you're my friend. You did it the right way. I saw you making the circuit. I saw you. And I told my wife, I said, Matt's up to something. He's gonna make he's gonna bust loose and he's gonna make a show, and he's doing it the right way. Okay. Mm. And asking people questions on how to do things, that's the appropriate way. Well, these people, I dare say, they go and they write a book. His buddy over there in the swamp, none of his books are over 50 pages, little golden books. I think that
my first cryptid book.
My first cryptid book.
My little cryptid.
The little Bigfoot that could. I think Germany dropped pamphlets over Europe that were bigger than those. Like, there was propaganda that they dropped that were much bigger than those books. And so, and they claim that they write these books. I'm sure it's just some little AI crap because he's a massive brand, according to himself, and that he believes that this is going to make him have some sort of clout. Okay? No, sir. That's not going to make you have clout. How about writing an actual book that's worth reading and doing research and putting real people in the book and whatever, and that might be a start. And yeah, self-published and unedited. Now, Charles, I self-published but I made sure I edited. My editor was Beth Wahiski. Now, if you got a problem, take it up with her. And Eddie Kadee was the guy that did the formatting for me, and he even went over the editing too. And I also had Tony and edit the Bigfoot book before we even sent it to Beth. Anthony did the Dogman book, and then Barton looked over it, and so did Ken. So I wanted to make sure that everything was good and polished and the way it was supposed to be. and my appreciation to everybody who read the books before they got put out. Nick Redfern wrote the foreword for the Bigfoot book. Said in his words, he said to me, which I thought was a huge compliment coming from him. No, I know, Charles, who you're talking about. No, I'm just saying for me, no, I didn't. But Nick said it was the best Bigfoot book he had read. And that's a big compliment coming from someone with his kind of, influence. And of course, my dear friend David Weatherly, he wrote the foreword for the Dogman book, and David is a dear friend of mine. And so they gave me compliments. Barton and Ken gave me compliments. Everybody. So that, to me, was big. Thank you, Yoda. Thank you so much for that donation. We appreciate that.
It's very generous.
Match dollars for Jordan, Ania, Guy Man Dude, and a little more. Appreciate that so much, man. Thank you, Mrs. Chef Yoda. But, it's one of those things where when you look at these people who are doing what they're doing, they also take away from the people that are doing things correctly and that are writing books correctly, because someone will buy their piece of crap and then they're burned out of $10 to $20, whatever it is, and then they don't get to go and buy like my book or Ken's book or David's book, and then you have them pumping out this annoying crap propaganda of shit show that they make, and then they're taking away from the views from people like you or Ry Voss or Gary Brand or Brandy and Krista, or Rob, Bigfoot Rob, or Tex, or Expanded Perspectives, We don't need to share the oxygen in this with them, because they will waste your time with fake AI-generated stories or absolute lies that just whatever, I don't know where they come, they bring them out of the thin air or whatever. And then they have fake views, fake subs, and amazingly, finally, the little swamp man that could, he's actually, his views now are starting to catch up to his subs. Because I imagine what he did. He probably went to his dad and said, Dad, they're catching on to me on Social Blade. I think I need to have enough money to buy the views to go with the subs. Can you help me, Daddy, to get this done? Because otherwise everyone's going to know I'm a fraud.
You're going to make fun of me.
You can buy views?
All the other kids have it.
Buy subs, views, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can buy comments too, right?
I didn't know you could buy views. That's insane.
Yeah, they have like these whole networks of bots that will go and
until you get your ass caught. Yeah, which the guy over there in Oklahoma was trying to get everybody to come and turn me in because I was fake or whatever. So I guess they all tried, and nothing happened because my stuff is real. Real people in the chat, real numbers, real people commenting, real comments in the whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious when you have real people watching your stuff. So.
Yeah, and you have real subs, and not fake AI generated stories. Now, one of the problems though that I've encountered is people will say, "Well, you took that story from Josh Anocchio or from Steve Stockton, or you took it from Albert Rosales or whatever." Blah blah blah. Here's what I'm going to say to that. I have an agreement with those guys. And they let me use their stories as long as they get credit. They use my stories. I have no problem with that. I told everybody at that table yesterday, and I'll say this to anybody out there. You're more than welcome to interview the same people I did. Do your work, hustle. And if you want to talk to somebody that I've talked to and you have it show, this goes for you, Matt, I'm going to tell you right now, and you need to use the stories. I'll reach out to them and have them reach out to you or however you want to do it. And because I don't own these stories. So when I tell someone's story, now it's kind of funny to me that some of these guys have actually copyrighted these stories. And I'm going like, how do you copyright someone gave you a story? How does that work? Isn't it their story? How did
Right.
that encounter become yours?
They would have to agree to the copyright.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah, and the copyright process, it takes several months.
Well, we
Right.
know, and we
And,
got one of
yeah.
them that we're about to go after because he keeps using my logo and our music, and he's about to learn real quick that that's copyrighted, it's trademarked. We have this logo. What's the other one? We have that logo right there, and then we have another one.
The orange one.
The orange one, whatever. But they're different colors. Doesn't matter. We have them copyrighted. Those are trademarked. You cannot use those. And he keeps using them on his channel and talking crap. Well, they're going to learn real fast. Okay. I'm tired of playing around. And at this point, I'm willing to spend a month's salary to deal with these people. I don't care anymore. Let them have their fun right now because it's all going to end in a couple weeks. So it's coming to an end. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm really sick and tired of it. And they think that this is a game, but as you get bigger and you start doing more work, you're going to learn too. I mean, that's part of this, how this whole, people pulling their shenanigans. And I trust you that you're not going to fall into that trap that these people did because they sold their souls. The minute you buy subs, buy views or comments, you've sold your soul.
Never.
Yeah.
Never will I buy a sub or review in my life.
Yeah. Fake stories, fake generated stories. Now, if Tex was talking about this last night. He had somebody come on the show and spew a bunch of nonsense. He says he didn't think it was correct, whatever. But, I don't blame somebody who puts somebody on. If that person says something, that's on them. Okay, and you, the audience, be smart about it. If you don't want to believe it, don't believe it. If you don't want to listen to it, don't listen to it. There's no way to say that these are 100%. What gets me, though, is when there's somebody from two different parts of the country that tell you a very similar tale, and they don't know each other, or they don't even listen to your show, And so, yeah, I have talked to witnesses from other channels, but I got permission from those channels. And not only that, but I don't have any kind of stranglehold on the witnesses that we talk to. So somebody said, well, I heard them talking on Supernaturalist channel. Well, heck yeah, they told that story on Supernatural. They told on mine too. Because that person is free to go and talk to whoever the hell they want. They can go to the local newspaper and scream at the top of their lungs.
Just for instance, for me, I've done probably 25 different shows.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you've been on everybody's show. I mean, that's, it makes sense. And then they say, you because that person retold the story or whatever, like you stole it. Somebody accused me of that with you. They said, "Oh, well, you just got him on there after he'd done all these other shows and blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Dude, we did something different when you came on our show. You co-hosted with us for the next, yeah. And guess what? Then you came to the conference, and now you got a feel for it, and you're going to be a host of a show. That's how it works, right?"
Exactly.
Yeah, because you had ambition and the will to feed it, which these people have no clue. Because guess what, Matt? They don't work. That's why.
Doesn't make sense why they would complain about that, though.
Dude, the things that people complain about. If I gave you, it's as long that the list is as long as a Texas tall tale. I can tell you, they complain about everything, and they will say anything and everything. I even had somebody the other day tell me that they didn't like the way my mustache looked, and they called me Frito Bandito. And I was like, "You must be really old to remember Frito Bandito." That's all I said. and then they even scrutinized my hair. Said that I was using hair plugs.
Are we in grade school?
Yeah, exactly. But to me, if they're that focused on me and they're giving me that much energy, imagine what's going on in their head, dude. They are so obviously obsessed. They're so obsessed. They talk about my eyebrows. They said that my eyebrows, get this. What do they say, Anthony?
And then your eyebrows are like satanic.
Satanic eyebrows, Matt.
Really?
That I look like the devil. That I'm the devil.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a new one. I never heard that one.
And the guy from UK, now his thing is that I'm AI. I'm an AI-generated creation. Mm-hmm. The system created me. I've been called a disinformation agent. I've been called every possible thing you could think of. Everything in the book. Satanic, whatever.
I ate dinner with you. That's amazing technology.
Yeah.
You notice how I kept glitching when I was trying to eat my soup.
Right.
Yeah, and it just kept falling onto the table. You know, it was. But yeah, these people they'll come up with anything and everything that you can think of. You know, I have a question for you, Matt. We're talking about this now. Here's one for you. Now that we're talking about the holograms, and I said that I was going to tell you one more Dogman story. I got a weird one for you. And we were talking about AI, right? And we were talking about holograms, all right? And I'm saving this one for the end. That's why I'm going to get into it. This is a weird one. This one comes right outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, a lot of dogman activity up there, right? These people told us, okay, me and Tony, they told us that what they saw looked like a werewolf-looking creature standing on the outside of a building where they had gone in to get drinks or whatever. They were driving. They pulled into a not a rest stop, to use a restroom at a convenience store. But it was almost midnight, and when they walked up, the little a-hole that worked there locked the door. Right? Part of them was like, no restroom, whatever. And they were like, fine. So they turned around to walk out, and they said, the next place down, we'll go to the next place, whatever. This was a guy and his son's friend. And he goes, my son's friend, he says, I see this thing on the side of the building that looked like a black, shadowy something or other. He goes, and then I turn and I look, and I see it kind of move. It comes out of the darkness. He's like, it kind of sidesteps to the left. And he said, dude, at that point, he's like, my friend's son, my son's friend comes running up to us, and he's like, there's something on the side of this building. Now, there was a little smaller building right there. And he said, I don't know what it is, but it's in between the two buildings. He goes, so I didn't really entertain it. And he goes, I wasn't going to entertain it. He's like, but I thought, why not? So he goes, I take a few more steps, and I go and I look. I don't see anything. And I'm like, well, it's gone now. And he goes, no, it's right there in the shadows. You can see it. And he goes, he's talking really quiet. And I'm like, what? I don't see anything, and these are kids, 12 and 13, and his son's friend's 12 years old, whatever. And they grew up together. And he says, I told him, I said, let's see. See, he goes, I walk over and I pick up a little piece of asphalt, and I throw it in the direction where the darkness is, where this supposed thing is. He didn't really give a good description at that point. He said, I see something kind of move, like out into where there was just a little bit of light, and you could see just a little sliver of what it was. And he said, dude, I saw an ear standing straight up, and what looked like an eye, and then part of a leg, and it had these weird backward bent legs, and then the ears were extremely tall. He's like, and I grabbed them both, and I said, let's go. And he goes, and we ran, and we got back in the truck. And he's like, as we're pulling out, he's like, we see this thing, whatever it is, run to the edge of the road, right? He goes, and as we're driving away, we look in the rearview mirror, and it's just like, boom. It's just like it's gone. He goes, then about a mile down the road, we pass what we thought was something that had gotten up out of a ditch. We thought it was a person, like a person hiking, camping, walking, whatever. Really bulky looking upper body, almost like it had a backpack on. And then we were like, whoa, wait a minute. That's not a person. And my son's friend, Adam, he's like, that's the creature. That's the thing we saw. And then they pass it. And it's the exact same thing. He goes, and right as we pass it, we look back, and there again, it was gone. Like blink, like it blinked out of reality.
That gives me
crazy,
Yeah,
but it
go
was
ahead, I'm
solid black, Matt Black.
that gives me I have huge goosebumps all over me, because it's bringing me back to my night. The way that thing moved, I've told it in many accounts. The quickness and the speed that this thing had, that it showed, was so unbelievable. Again, I'm going to use the same statement I use in every interview I've ever given, and I'll always use it. It looked fake from the size and from the movement it used. I thought I was in a dream. This thing was like putting your hand in front of a flashlight when it left the building and just running your hand in front of it and seeing the shadow on the wall go whip. And that's how quick that thing left. So for it to be able to meld into the shadows, no surprise. And then to
Yeah.
be able to blink, gone, that thing was probably running, either turned into what I saw, that black mass ended up in front of them, and then be able to keep doing it is no surprise to me.
My wife's encounter very similar to yours, and in my book, and this isn't a plug for the book. If you buy the book, buy the book. If you don't, I'm not talking to you, man. I'm talking to the audience. But the book, we did an entire chapter on that. It was something that me and my wife had talked about, and it was these encounters that people had in their bedroom. And speaking of Nick Redfern, he's actually in the book too, talking about his encounter. Which is something that happened, and it was in the bedroom. These things appear, and the one that my wife saw was black, solid black, and it struck me whenever, and I wanted to end with that story because I know your encounter very well. I've heard you tell it 3 times, and it doesn't change. You're not adding to it or taking away from it. You're just very matter of fact and telling the story. And that speaks volumes too. But it's a very similar, to that particular encounter. And it happened in Wisconsin. But, when you stop and you think about it, like you said, maybe it was running really, really fast, but yet they just weren't seeing it, And Anthony, we've heard these before, these stories where they say it moves so fast, like it's like bam, bam, bam.
Oh, yeah.
The African-American dude from Alabama at the gym, his encounter comes to mind, the thing that crawled under the trampoline.
Yeah.
I don't think we've told that one on the show yet. But, dude, it was like, it's not a real long encounter. I can tell it very quickly. They were playing around, and they were on a trampoline, and it was in the summertime, and they were laying down on the trampoline looking up at the stars. And something bumped underneath them, and him and his brother and his cousin flew up in the air, and they came back down. And his little brother bounced off of the trampoline. He said, the first thing I thought was, it was our dog. He said, but our dog had passed away, natural causes, like a month before. And he goes, wait a minute. And their dog's name was Buffy. It was a female dog named Buffy, like a vampire slayer. But he goes, our dog Buffy was deceased. He's like, and then my little brother's crying. He's just screaming, and I'm thinking, oh, hell, mama finna smack me. That's what he said. He goes, I'm going to be in trouble, And then he's like, he sees this thing come up from underneath the trampoline. And there's a story that was given us at the gym. And it turns and looks at them. He goes, and all it was just a black image. He's like, if you took a piece of black construction paper and you cut it out and you made it look like the outline of a werewolf. And he even pointed at this because I was wearing the shirt at the time. And he says that thing like that. And he goes, but way bigger and more muscular. He's like, and then it turned and moved. And he said, but when it did, this is really weird, folks. Like when it was sideways, he said it was almost like just a thin line. Almost like it was 2-dimensional. And then it just kind of went through the cracks of the fence, and then when it did, it kind of bulked back out and was gone. And there again, it was just like, and it was really fast. And I asked him this. His name was Jared, and I said, Jared, did you ever see this before or after? And he says, no, I never did. And his dad, like grew up, in the old South, very, very matter of fact dude. Just was not having it, was not just, nah, man, that ain't, whatever. He said, but my grandma, she was like, that's a haint, and that they exist. And his mother, she didn't know what to think. She was like, didn't have much of an opinion on it. But he goes, but us kids, he goes, we saw it. He goes, I know what we saw. And so there again, you have these weird, solid black entities popping in and out of reality, and there's so many stories of these things, but so many people think that these things are like, they're flesh and blood, and I'm going like, what is that? What is what you saw, what I saw, what my wife saw? How is that? Like, I don't get it. And whatever it was able to physically manipulate them Of course, they were just kids. He's like, I was 15, I was the oldest, you know, and then my little cousin was 13, and my little brother was like 7, you know, and he was like, dude, it was like, how did we, you know, it knocked us all up in the air.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. So it's able to do that, but then it turns and it looks like a piece of black construction paper, the way you described it. You know, what are we dealing with?
Abilities, you know, I saw a really amazing video, you know, like I mentioned, you know, our friends from Resonance Productions, and they had this new Bigfoot Paranormal was released. I saw it on Prime early this morning. I was awake. I never sleep. It was incredible. And they have things that, you know, talking about the cloaking, like the predator effect that the Sasquatch can do. And they have videos of like orbs and ball energy. And these two guys end the show talking about that they saw a Sasquatch basically go down into a fetal position and shrink, turn into a ball of energy, and then turn into a square of energy, and then bang, gone, and left a trail of light. It was really incredible. And they have video actually of something cloaked running through the woods. And it just goes to tell you that, you know, anybody that says they don't believe in the woo, man, that's all that's going on with these things.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, man. Well, Matt, it's been real. And
thank you.
Had a great time. Folks, tell the folks where they can find you, Matt.
Yeah, please go over to Planet 412 on YouTube. I appreciate every single one of my subscribers. And, you know, I can't tell how much I appreciate anybody that's already a subscriber. And it's going well right now. And, you know, I'd love to have you, and we have memberships, and we're going to start doing live streams like we had touched on at the beginning of this episode. Josh is going to be my first ever live stream guest. And, you know, I'm doing the narrations and the regular format where I tell a story. We have a lot of interviews coming up really soon. I actually did, I think in the last week, I did like 5 interviews. They just need edited. So we have a lot coming up, and I'm not slowing down.
Good for you, Matt. And like always, I love that the conferences bring people together. And I remember being so excited at this second conference and thinking, and I told you, Anthony, Tony, Nelly, everybody, I told Bettina, I said, I want to see what the collaborations are going to be coming out of this conference, because it's really cool to see everybody collaborate, working together and doing it. And that's
what I want to do too. I'm glad you said that. My goal is to collaborate with all of you guys, with all my friends, and just make killer stuff that everybody, you know, just loves. You know, at the end of the day, even when there's true stories on here, at the end of the day, when the channel is going off at the end of the night, it is for entertainment purposes, regardless if it's a true story or not. And it's up to the person to decide if it is. What's your thoughts on that? But if we can do it in a good way and make people go, wow, that was really awesome, that's what it's about.
Yeah. And we need creators like you. We get all these new people coming and going all the time.
Yeah. But I don't think Matt's going to be going anywhere anytime soon, because your channel is just blowing up to a I mean, it's like accelerated so quickly. That's not normal. So, and it's because you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you did the right thing by talking to people who've done it before and asking questions, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, I got some questions about books for you guys, so.
Absolutely. And your story is in my book too.
It is. It is. I'm extremely proud of that.
Yeah.
It's the first book I was ever in.
Yeah. And so anybody that wants to reach out to Matt, is there an email address or something?
There is. It's planet412@gmail, but spell it out. It's planetfortwelve@gmail.com. I tried to get the Planet 412 number, but it was taken. But it doesn't matter. Spell it out, and you can reach me there. And we've been getting a lot of people sending in their accounts and their stories, and I'll get to you. I promise. I answer everybody. And I've been trying my darndest to answer as many comments as I can. I spend hours doing it on certain days of the week, and I'll try my best to get to you. I never ignore anybody.
Yeah, and just to when you've reached out to me and I've been busy. I mean, I don't always answer right away. I do answer though.
You do.
I get extremely busy, and sometimes people think I'm blowing them off. I'm not a flake. I promise
He's
you.
not.
No,
He's
I
not.
just get really busy, and I do try to message back and talk or whatever. But we'll be in touch for sure, Matt, and we'll give you some help any way we can.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on. It was an honor.
Yeah, for us too, Matt. We appreciate it. So I'm gonna let you run and close out the show here.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, Matt.
Take care, Matt.
Bye. So it was Matt Imps, folks. Really good guy, good friend of the show. Has been at our conference, this past conference, which, I mean, there were so many people there, and I'm not bragging, going, no, it was awesome. And the way Barton always says, it's like a family reunion. It's just all of us seeing each other again and having a good time. Last night, just hanging out with Lyle and Ryan and Jason and Tex, and Blondes and Booze. It was great. We had a great time. It was so much fun. Like, we were there till 11:30. Jeez Louise, man. And we got there. I think what time did we get that to the restaurant? 7 o'clock? I think the thing came up.
Yeah, I think so.
It's under your
I got it.
thing there. I'm trying to get it. I was trying to move it a little bit there, and it came. But we got there at like 7 o'clock, and we were there for like 4.5 hours. And at one point, me and Tex had run to the store because, and kudos to Tex. Tex has lost 80 pounds. He looks like a different guy.
Yeah, he's looking good.
His face is looking, he's looking healthier. Just stay with it, man. Eating healthy and working out can be a real chore. It can be a real pain, but it's worth it in the long run for your health and for everything. Let me give everybody here some Jordan Cogburn, Shade Viking. Sorry that the war is over there on, that's the way it is. Double Aaron, thank you. Misty Rose, Amy Creel. If I don't say your name, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to give people shout outs here that are regulars that come on. But tonight, before you go, because a lot of people already dropped out, right? We want to do a giveaway tonight. We want to give you something, okay? I'm going to give away one of my books, but I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to give away, what do we have? We have Weatherly's books. We forgot to get the books from Lyle last night.
Oh, yeah.
Dang it. Do we have any Lyle's books in there?
I'm sure we do.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll give away, it'll be either one of David's or Lyle's books. Larry Fisher. What's up, Larry? How you doing? I talked to him earlier. But thank you for that donation. We appreciate all the people that donated. So only people that donated are eligible to win something tonight, all right? Everybody else,
just kick rocks.
Yeah, go fudge yourself, okay? Appreciate that. People, yeah, you want to do me like that? I'm kidding, folks. I'm not that way. Even though my detractors will spew the garbagey lies, y'all know it ain't true. Give me a break. But I do get tired of people attacking those that I care about and that I love. Make fun of me all day. In fact, go to Wolf, the PRT.
The fan page.
Fan page is called Josh Wolf Turner.
I think so. I think it's called
they
Josh
changed
Wolf.
the name because of some reason, but it's called like Josh Wolf Turner PRT. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, there's a fan page that they made, and they like to make, for a while there, they were just making fun of me, and I was like, hey, man, let's make fun of some other people. And they're like, no, we like to make fun of you. So that's what they did. And that was fine. It was just a goofy thing. And then, once it got to like 1,100 people in there making fun of me, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's make fun of some other people. How about Anthony and Tony? And so they did. They started making fun of, especially Tony, but no, I don't mind people saying stuff about me. You say whatever you want. They say the stupidest things about me all the time. They don't know me, but when they know what they're doing. They're trying to attack my wife, and they're attacking my nephews, and they're attacking my family, and they're attacking all my friends because they're trying to get under my skin by attacking people I care about. But at the end of the day, dude, we're going to stick together. We're going to band together, and we're not going to let you win. You're not going to bully us, and you're not going to run me off. That's what they really want, is to run me off, folks. They want me to leave. Now, I may leave the live streams, okay? I may do that. That may happen. But at least through the month of February, though, you got me until the month of February, at least through mid-March, because I got guests coming until mid-March. But after that, I don't know. We're going to see where we're at come mid-March. But for now, at least, I'm here, okay? And they're not going to chase me off just because they want to be dickheads. That's not going to happen. So what we're going to do right now, if you haven't won before, give us just, let us know that you haven't won. First come, first serve. We're going to be giving away one of my books, a little bit of PRT swag. And if you haven't won, let us know. Mara Black says, I haven't won. Miss Chef Yoda. Miss Chef Yoda donated $100. So I nominate her automatically right there. Here's what I'm going to ask you, Miss Chef Yoda. Do you have one of our hoodies? Because if you don't, we may have her size. We don't have a whole lot of them in stock. We've sold so many. But let me see here. Adam Paulson says, me, but in the UK. Adam, have you ever won? Because I could always have Deborah Hatswell or Paul Sinclair, who are two of my associates, send you one of their books. And so hit me up, Adam, and I'd be happy to pay for that, for them to send you a book. I like doing that. It'll support my friends over there in Britain, and I'd be happy to have them send you a book.
She says she doesn't have a hoodie.
You don't have a hoodie? What's your size? Don't say it on here if you're self-conscious or whatever. It doesn't matter. Message me through Josh right here. No, that's Patreon. Sorry. Josh Turner, PRTpodcast.com. Hit me up, and if I have your size, I will. If not, well, I'll send you a shirt. Okay? And so I really appreciate that. And yes, Ristal, Deb is good. And she's being attacked by that lunatic over there, too. He's all attacking her. And these people are just sick. They're trying to tear this community apart. We can't let them. Okay, we cannot let them. And I'm going to do everything I can to put a stop to this real soon, because I've had it. I'm done. I don't care anymore. Larry says, I want a katana. Larry, in fact, I got something for you, Larry. I don't know if I gave you, at Christmas, I gave you some steaks, whatever, but I picked something up for you the other day. So you got to come by the house when you get a chance, and I can give it to you. I'm not going to say what it is here on there because it's a surprise. So swing by the house one day. So Miss Chef Yoda, you got a hoodie coming, and I'll send you one of my books, and I'll even throw in a book from an author. Now, I want to pick someone else. So we're going to pick two people. We're going to do this. Give me some more names, people who haven't won.
Let's see, let me scroll back in the chat, because a bunch of people commented that
yeah, but we author and illustrator BJ Lapierre, BJ Moore. I've never won. I'm gonna let you pick the next one.
Okay.
It's so hard because I feel like when I pick someone,
I want to pick someone who hasn't won, but someone who is like here pretty consistently. Let's go with what
about Ace Banner 007?
I already had someone else in mind.
Okay.
Well, now I'm going to disappoint them. You said them, and I'm going to pick someone else. You put me on the spot here.
No, well, just pick whoever it is you're going to pick. Ace will get you next.
Let's go with Ristal.
Ristal, okay,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, because this person, I'm sorry, I don't know if you're male or female. Your name's kind of like ambiguous, but you're here all the time, and so I think you deserve something.
Let me write this down
here. Yeah, if you can just send us an email, whenever I pan the camera back to Wolf, at the top left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see the email address scrolling like right above his head. you can shoot us an email at that email address saying, "Hey, I'm Ristol. This is my shirt size, and this is my mailing address." And yeah, we'll get you your prize mailed out. It'll be something cool.
Yeah. So just send me the emails. We'll get it done. Also, if you're a Patreon, we gave out everything to the Patreon, like a lot of the Patreon. But remember, you have to be for 2 months. Now, if you've hit the 2-month mark on the Patreon and you haven't gotten anything, hit us up through the Patreon or through the email or both. Probably best to send it both and let us know so that we can get you your product. Okay? Now, joining the Patreon is a big, big way to support the show. I say big because you get something big. So I'm over here saying it kind of backwards. It's a good way to support the show, but it's big for you. Now, here's how it works. A $10 Patreon gets you a book, an autographed book, and some stickers and keychains, little stuff like that. A $20 gets you a book, the same thing that the $10 gets you, but then you also get a shirt, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't that correct? $30 gets you 2 books and a shirt, right? $40 gets you 2 books, the shirt or hoodie, depending on what we have. If you're at the $40 tier, you can get a hoodie. If we have hoodies in stock, it's your choice, your choice, shirt or hoodie, right? Okay, but you also get one of my books, right? If you get the $50 tier, you get the 2 books that are from different authors and my 2 books autographed, and you get your choice of the shirt or the hoodie. So you get, so it just keeps going up and up. You see what I'm saying? So go join the Patreon, and after 2 months, you'll get your swag bag. It's a great way to support the show. It helps us immensely to keep the show going, and it also gets you some really cool product, and you can wear it out and support the show and show that you're PRT. You're proud to be PRT. So who was it that won? Ristol?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ristol, we're gonna send you 2. Was it 2 books?
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you 2 books, and Miss Chef Yoda, I'm sending you 2 books. Thanks for the donation. I'm giving you a hoodie. Okay, so there you go. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We're going to start doing the giveaways again. I don't care what these people say. Like I said, Miss Anus decided to pretend like she had a home invasion based on her having won a giveaway from us, which is a pretty sorry thing to do. But she's got to be one of the meanest individuals and nastiest people I've ever met in my entire life. I've never met her, but dealt with in my entire life. And an absolute liar. Just the biggest liar I've ever, just spews things out of her mouth. So, did we miss anybody else? We give everybody the shout out.
Just have this image of her like watching this right now, regurgitating up pea soup.
Get back down. Get back down. I see Bruce Campbell over there like, so,
head spinning around.
Like the scene where he's like, how about some hot chocolate, huh? And he pours it down his throat, and the little ones come, it's like her little like running over. Oh, scary. So, JD, thank you for that donation. I don't know how to go back further so I can see the donations. What am I doing wrong here? I want to make sure we thank everybody that donated.
So you can come.
Dennis, thank you for that donation. There it is. Okay. Larry Fisher, Miguel Gay says, just paying my cult taxes like a good, proper cult member. Hopefully it's enough for me to get into tonight's special Cult Shasta Gala. Love you guys and all the awesome paratroopers. Yeah. And then Guy Man, dude. I thought of something, and I was joking around with Lyle about this last night with everybody. And if you come to the next conference, which will be in September, me and Ken are going to be autographing Shasta, cans of Shasta. And, of course, Barton is dead set against that. But I refuse to buy Coca-Cola. I won't give any money to that corporation. So Barton, if you want to bring your own Coca-Cola to autograph, that's fine. But Ken and I'm gonna get Ken to sign some Shasta cans for everybody.
It'd be funny if we had if we somehow found out a way to to have the conference like at the Thrall High School, because right across the street is like the one Shasta
machine.
that I've ever. It's the only one that I've ever seen.
Yeah, we were coming back from the bull riding event at Scruggs.
Yeah.
And Loki's like, "Hey, look, there's a Shasta machine," and we took a picture with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Loki took a picture. I thought we saw another one though somewhere.
The only one I know of is in Thrall.
I could have swore I saw another one somewhere. I think it was me and Nelly. Guy, man, dude, bro, do you even lift? Yes, I do. Anaya, thank you. Anaya, get in touch with me. I'd really like to get your stories out there and have you on the show. I really would. You got some interesting stuff. Jordan Cogburn, gone, matchmaker. That's really cool. The matchmaking thing was really, really cool. Double Aaron, gifted a one Paranormal Roundtable membership. That was really nice of you. It says you should talk about Bledsoe. He has a crazy story about aliens that gives him powers to heal. Wow. Give me more information about that. Hit me up in the email, Aaron. Okay. Valerie, guys, I'm doing nuclear fission in my shop. What are you Neanderthals doing? I was just talking about nuclear fission the other night. When these guys were in nuclear fusion, they were at pinballs. I was talking to a molecular biologist. Great conversation. Brett Loffer, amen. Shade Viking, no substitute for PRT, because he said PRT, there is no substitute. And then, of course, Dennis and JD. Mike Wells, love your podcast. Keep up the good fight. And then Liberty says, entertaining Sunday. From now on, we're going to, and I got this from Barton and Letitia and Blondes and Booze. They read them at the end of the show. And it never even dawned on me to do that because we're so engulfed in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to start doing that. But Tufan, is it Kill Inc. or Kill Inc.? I don't know how you say that. Thank you for that donation. Indy, Southpaw, PRT Strong, Double Aaron, Sad Woman, he's talking about in anus. Michelle Delaney. So everybody that donated, we're missing somebody here. What about Miss Yoda? Where is she at on here? I don't see it. Did she say something or was that it?
Hershey. That's weird. Well, that's because it's right here.
Yeah, it says in the match money for Jordan and Nia, Guy Man doing a little more. Thank you for everybody that donated. Thank you for everybody who showed up and listens and endures, whatever. Folks, I hope that someday that this war will end and these people will actually go away, or they'll find Jesus, the true way, and quit attacking and messing with everyone and making up lies.
Oh, and speaking of, Curtis had a super chat. $2 says, proud to be PRT. Hashtag leave Nelly alone. Hashtag Turner's Rock.
Thank you for that, Curtis.
And Tito for $20 with the super chat. Thank you for that.
Curtis and Mike, two of our big supporters, and they're not. We're not even related. Curtis looks like a big blonde-haired Viking, and Mike Turner's African American.
Yeah.
Two of the nicest guys ever. They've been in my conferences.
Salt of the earth.
Very wonderful people. I gave Mike a ride with Garitano back to the airport. Couldn't be a nicer guy. And Curtis, wonderful dude. After the first conference, he stayed behind and helped put stuff up, and with him, with Merkel's guys. Really good people, always good people. Everybody at PRT that's associated, affiliated with us. T. Toey, thank you for that donation. Wonderful people. Once again, everybody, just the tickets. We're planning what they're going to go on sale at the end of March.
I think so.
Yeah, we're going to decide. We gotta tell Ken. Ken's not watching the show. I know he won't. Ann might be. She lurks in the chat, but don't say anything, Ann, because me and Lyle have a plan on how we're going to ambush Ken into helping us. He's coming back from the conference in Washington, I believe. He was in Washington this weekend, so he wasn't at the Paracon like he was last year. But for sure. And so we will be doing the roundtable discussions every Saturday. Just some of the guests, we're talking about Daniel Jones, Christopher Jordan, James Bartley. Redford's not going to be able to do it because he's taking care of his dad. He's dealing with family issues. And that sucks, but there's a lot of other people that are going to be involved. David Weatherly. Who else do we have? Jason McLean. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be doing these roundtables with us, and it's going to be every Saturday. So remember, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Mont Blondes and Booze, right? Friday, the regular live stream like always. And then Saturday, we're going to be doing the Roundtable UAP. That's all of February, the month of February. And then at the end of the week, Sunday, you get this. And then Monday, you got nothing better to do, go check out our friends at Hellbent Holler, Jesse and Joe. They're, of course, dealing with the same crap, the members of crap. They're messing with Jesse. They're messing with Joe. They're messing with Bettina. They're messing with us. They're messing with Abe. They mess with everybody because they got nothing better to do but try to tear our community apart. So be strong, stand strong, and support our allies and our friends who are working with us to stamp out this ridiculous evil that's going on in this community. And the best thing you can do is just check out our shows. In fact, if you got, like I said, you want to do something on Monday, you got Hellbent Holler. Tuesday, you got me, or us, I should say. I don't like saying me. And then Wednesday, you got Barton, right? But before Barton's show, tune in at 7 o'clock for us to drop our interview. And then I think right now we have Steven Seagal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that will be Angela Shelton. And then, of course, Wednesday night, you got Barton comes on, and he knocks it out of the park. He's like a home run hitter. He's been doing amazing work. Not only is he a great author, but he's a great YouTuber. And then come Thursday, I'm going to be on Blondes and Booze, and we're going to be interviewing a bunch of great people, starting with Rod Nichols. And so he's got a Bigfoot deal. And I saw Lyle wearing his shirt yesterday. Really cool logo. You got to get me one of those, Rod. And then on Friday, we do it, like I said, here, and then Saturday, the UAP project, all of February once again, and then Sunday, we're back at it. So, hate to repeat myself over and over again, but you got to remember, okay, so you basically have me all week long. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 6 days. You're going to have me 6 nights of a week of PRT. The only night we're not going to be on is Monday. Okay, and like I said, go check out our friends at Hellbent Holler. So thank you for everybody, all of our friends, Matt Imsh, my guest that came on tonight. I don't usually have guests on Sunday, but we still managed to tell some stories. But we had a lot to talk about because there's a lot of changes happening and a lot of things happening with PRT. So we appreciate the love. Thank you for the donations. Thank you to everybody who, and congratulations to our winners, Ristal and Mrs. Chef Yoda. Thank you, and good night.